wrestling fans, what is going on? Jimmy J Promo Nights. It is I, yours truly, once again, Jimmy J, the mouthpiece of the Northeast. And looks like the music came in a little bit late there, but it was where are we at? Okay, it's not playing. I don't hear it. Technical difficulties. No worries. We're rocking and rolling right here, Jimmy J Show, episode 4. We're talking 90s wrestling, baby. Let's get ready to rumble. Come on. What was that? What are you hearing? A little something there? Swift in the building with yours truly.
Everybody? Thanks for having me, Jim.
Oh, of course, my man. I appreciate you joining in the conversation. You know, I've told everybody in the beginning, I says, you never know what we're going to be talking about here. This is why I did this show, just to talk about anything I want to talk about and have any guest on that I want to have on. We were going to have a couple different guests on. I like that shirt, though, by the way. MLW. And tonight, people that we know, they're in attendance right now at the MLW event at the Melrose Ballroom in Queens. Okay? And I know, and you know, we both know what kind of show MLW puts on every time they're at either Melrose or they're doing a taping in Philly. They deliver.
300.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I got to say, the independent wrestling run that I had, when I say that is in attendance as a fan, we're not in the ring, was incredible. And the time of it from 2017, I think all the way to about 2022, around that time, that's when it started slowing down for me because other things were picking up. But man, I miss going to MLW shows. You remember those shows, man, right? You and I were both there many times.
Those shows were amazing experiences. Some of the most fond memories of attending indie wrestling that I have.
Oh yeah, man. There were some show highlights, and actually on the YouTube channel, I covered back in the day when I first started getting into some of the stuff here, writing things down about what I was passionate about. Wrestling was at the top of the list, and that's why we're talking about this today, man. It was was my number one love. But MLW, some of those recap shows, and when we got some of the footage from those events, man, they delivered, man. I remember so many matches, Mance Warner, Jacob Fatu, just you name it. Brian Pillman Jr., Davey Boy Smith's son, Harry Smith.
Yeah, MJF.
I gotta say his name. Maybe not a fan favorite, but Teddy Hart. You know,
Hart,
I never forget Teddy. I gotta say this about Teddy, and I personally, I have no issues with Teddy. I don't know what's true, what's not, but I'll never forget Teddy. And we're gonna get into 90s in a minute, but I'll never forget when he talked to me when I was supposed to have him for a wrestling watch party, and this is Teddy talking to me. He's like, Jim, this is what we're going to do. I got an idea. We're going to run a program, 3 program. I'm going to go over. And he just started booking the whole thing. But the way he talked and the passion behind what he was saying and the booking, it was funny, though. It had me laughing. But, different.
Interesting guy.
Yeah.
Interesting guy. Let me tell you something. He's a hustler, though.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a hustler. And, personally, my experiences with him, I had nothing bad to say. MLW opened the door, many opportunities to see and meet different people in the wrestling business. And that was an experience, man, doing promotional work for them, you and I both. So shout out to them. Yeah, man. Shout out to
MLW.
Yeah, Joe, the whole team. Yeah, Joe, Kurt. Man, who else is over there? Oh, jeez. Court, not Kurt.
Yeah, Court Bauer.
Wait a minute, I know you guys are Court Bauer, the guy, the man behind
Court Bauer, MSL, everybody over there, man. Much love for you guys.
Yeah, keep killing it, keep kicking ass, as you would say, Swift. And they're doing a tremendous job tonight. And they're going to be rocking the house at the Melrose Ballroom. I also remember the Melrose, man. Impact. Remember Impact Wrestling tapings at Melrose? Yeah, man. Got a couple of those down here. But today we're going to talk about the best decade. I don't care what anybody says. The best decade in pro wrestling, and that is the 90s, Swift. And so much I want to get into here with this decade because it was a huge part of my life, and I would imagine it's a huge part of yours as well.
Absolutely.
and many others, and many others. And see, I'm ready to rumble. I got the ring thing here. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready in the ring. I'm ready. I know the shots are going to be fired with some of the things I might be saying, but we'll get to that in a minute. I actually, right now, what I want to get to is a little promotion before we get rolling here with ML. Excuse me, I'm saying MLW here. We got notifications rolling in here. So yeah, we're going to be promoting something. There's an event coming up in July, and we're going to get right into this event right here. It is the second annual War on the Shore, baby. War on the Shore. Let's take a look right here. As a matter of fact, before we get to the match card, here we go. We got Real One, aka Enzo Amore, open challenge on the beach. Who's going to accept it? Well, you're going to find out July 15th. Then, here we go, the Open Weight Championship, 20-man sink or swim invitational battle royal. It's a who's who, man. Anybody's game. Who's sinking and who is going to come out on top swimming? They may need a flotation device when this is all done. They may not be able to swim on their own. It's going to get brutal in that ring. But here we go, the match card, top to bottom here. Rich Holiday takes on Effie. Again, the Real One challenge. Triple threat, Sean Donovan, Jordan Oliver, Ken Dixon going at it. A Legends match. What about this one? A Legend match. Gangrel versus Crowbar on the beach. Is it even allowed to have vampires out in the daylight? I don't think so.
I think he's going to run into some difficulties there.
Yeah, Gangrel might not even make it to the ring with the sunlight being out. But Joey Janela, the bad boy himself, taking on Marcus Mathers, which is also Marshall Mathers' long-distance brother. Somehow somebody had told me that, just inside information there. Mike Santana originally was supposed to take on Casey Navarro, but now they updated it right here, and he's going to be taking on the Silver Sniper, TJ Crawford. That's going to be going down. A little change there. Triple threat for the Fight Factory Women's Premier Championship. Vicky Venuto, Lady Frost, the champion, and Zeta Steele. All three of these ladies going at it. And then the big one, the main event, Tom Latimer, Dan Moff. This is going to be a big bash.
NWA champion.
Oh, yeah. NWA champion, Fight Factory champion, title. Here it is going down. Moff, right now, got to say it, okay? God isn't like many people. I don't blame him, okay? But this guy's a beast. He's the king of the indies right now. Nobody is going to take that title from the big man, Dan Moff. We're going to find out what happens. And the War on the Shore. Make sure you get your tickets. Fight Factory Wrestling is putting it on. We're going to send the links in the description, so check them out. Big shout out to the crew over there at the Fight Factory, and I want to talk about them right now. My opinion, Swift, and I want yours right after this. What they have going on. The first annual was last year. It was the inaugural War on the Shore. This year, it's round two, baby. We're at the beach. War on the Shore 2. The card is stacked. I know you hear that so many times, but this is true. I mean, you've seen what they have, the matches here. What are your thoughts about this show, about this atmosphere, and what you just seen right here?
My thoughts, this show sounds like it's the place to be. You know, you look at not only all of the names that are on that card, all draws. You got Enzo Amore, who's now known as Real One. Mike Santana, who's been tearing it apart on the wrestling scene lately, ever since he broke away from LAX, LAX, proud and powerful. He's been on a tear, a singles tear. He's been banger after banger he's been putting on. And then the title match, Latimer versus Moff. Man, forget about it. And all of that on the shore, all of that on the Jersey Shore, outside, it gives me flashbacks of Bash at the Beach, WCW Bash at the Beach, 1995.
Yes.
At Huntington Beach, surrounded by, there you go, surrounded by beachgoers in the afternoon. The sand, the sun, the fun. And some people are not going to have fun that night. Some people are going to go home. Some people are going to go home not the same way they came in.
Some people might not make it home. They might get carted out.
Home. We don't know. That's the cost to be the boss.
that's it. Some people might get thrown into the ocean, into the deep waters. Jaws might come out. I mean, some people might get buried alive in the sand. You don't know what's going to happen. Somebody might be placed under the boardwalk. Okay? I mean, this is going to be wild, man. I mean, you're right. This is shades of Bash at the Beach 95. And I really love what these guys are doing over there. Again, second annual. I know one of the gentlemen co-owners, Dave Sturcio, again, tremendous job putting this together with his crew. And I cannot wait. I'm really trying to make it down there. If I can, I'm going to be disappointed. But if you all that are watching this right now, if you can make it down to any event this year, if there's any independent wrestling show you want to go to this year, this is the one. If you're on the Jersey Shore, if you're in Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, tri-state area, whatever, somewhere in the Northeast.
Yeah, anywhere in the Northeast.
Get on the plane.
Yeah, what do you have to lose? You got the beat, you got the rides, you got the boardwalk, you got the prizes, you got the games, and then you got the main event. Come on.
It's a destination. Yeah, it's a destination, my man. And, I look at it right here because this is going to be something. And we're going to get into 90s in a minute, but this is just a dangerous, uncontrollable riptide, okay, that running along the Jersey Shore from Red Bank to Wildwood. Woo, baby. And it's pulling people into Point Pleasant. And it's going down July 15th. And it's the war on the shore. You got to be there. I'll tell you. I'm hyped.
I'm sold.
That's it. That's all I want. I want whoever's watching or seeing this to be sold on this right here. And I'm not even trying to sell you. Look, the whole concept, the match card sells itself. The show sells itself. I don't have to do any work. Okay. Just look at it. But anyway, shout out to Fight Factory, what they have going on over there. War on the Shore, July 15th. Maybe we can even get them on the Thursday before to talk about, what's going to be happening and give us maybe some updates on what to expect even for a couple of minutes at this event. So, Swift, I digress now. We're talking 90s wrestling. So many members.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin with this. Michael Fright in the building. Congrats on the show. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you. And Tony Massari, Big Tony in the building again. Thank you.
Big Tony. Tony the Tiger. How you doing?
That's it. My man, showing up, showing out always. I love that demolition photo you got over there, by the way. But so here we go, Tony. Saturday mornings, Superstars of Wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah, Golden Age. They had more story build up, old school promos. Oh, that old blue steel cage. It was just, there was something about that cage, man.
That's the cage everybody hated. That cage had no give. You were feeling it. You were in that cage, you were feeling it. You
were. But you know what? I missed that. I missed those cage matches. I mean, it made it obviously easier for the athletes to climb the cage because there was big gaps in between each.
Yeah,
but man, that thing was steel. Like,
and it looked like a toy. It's something you could sell. The kids would love it. Oh yeah, let's get it. Let's get me the ring with the steel cage. But it was unforgiving, to say the least.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? I know we obviously upgraded to the cages that we have nowadays. It's on another level what they're doing. But that's classic. I remember some of the greatest cage matches. I remember, you had Hogan and King Kong Bundy in the cage, WrestleMania 2. There was another good one out of that cage involving Hogan. It was not aired. It may have been a house show. I don't know what it was. It was on the Super Tape, Volume 1. It was a Coliseum video. That was, man. You know what I'm talking about. It was Hogan and Beefcake versus Savage and Zeus.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a match, dude. That whole storyline there, the no holds barred storyline. Rude and Warrior, yes, SummerSlam 1990.
SummerSlam 90, 100% for the title.
Yeah.
That's when Revolutionary Rick Rude got away from that. He got away from that pretty boy gimmick, and he was rough. Like how he became late in his career. He was a rough competitor.
Oh, Rude was no joke. From the stories I've heard, even outside of the ring, he was like a man's man. Like he doesn't take any shit from nobody. I think he knocked out the Warrior. They were talking about a backstage story, and I don't blame him. I mean, the guy was unsafe. They were saying in the ring. I mean, you seen what he did.
Rest in peace to both of those guys. By the way,
yes, Yes, rest in peace. I'm not trying to, talk bad about the dead or nothing like that, but but the truth be told, like I'm just going based on the stories, that were said. So, here you go. You have Rude and Warrior, as you mentioned, in that cage, SummerSlam 1990. Rude was on his way out. He was going to WCW. There were some things that were happening behind the scenes. I also heard some politicking with Hogan. Again, this is all what I read. Politicking with Hogan, not giving Rude a title shot. Didn't want to wrestle Rude.
Never. Hogan would never do that.
Well, listen, just wasn't working for him, brother. Okay. Yeah. So,
listen, we want to talk about the 90s, bro.
Yeah,
let's start off at the top. Let's start off at the top, bro. Let's talk about Royal Rumble 1990.
Yeah.
Hogan and Warrior clear the ring. Those two are left. They're the two in the ring, and they go at it. Hey, how you doing, man? We got Chicky in here. Let's talk about that. They clear the ring, and they're the last two in the ring. They weren't the last two, but they were the two remaining in the ring at the specific time. Hogan and Warrior at that time, the two most colossal superstars in WWF at the time. And do you remember this part that I'm talking about? And they're just staring across the ring at each other. They both realize they eliminated everybody else, and they're both staring across the ring at each other. Warrior starts with his, with his stick. Hogan looks at the audience, looks at the Warrior, forever the salesman.
Yeah.
And then they clash off, man. And listen, there was Godzilla versus King Kong for us back in the day. That was 100. Godzilla versus King Kong. It was, man, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about how I felt when I saw that. And it did not disappoint. Eventually more guys started coming in the ring, and it ended how it ended. But it was a sign of things to come. And it was just the appetizer.
It was just, I appreciate you bringing that moment up, Swift, because that was an iconic moment. I know that word gets tossed around a lot, but that was it, man. I mean, just the two, those were like the mega powers at the time. Like they never faced off. Like the electricity, the Titans, as you said, the electricity in Orlando. I believe they were in Orlando, Florida for that one. Tony Schiavone was doing commentary. I tell you, wrestling, man.
WWF.
Yeah, man, WWF. And it was Tony Schiavone and Jesse the Body, I believe, doing commentary. And then it was all eyes on them. And they clashed up, like you said, and it was just like the irresistible force, the immovable object, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. And for wrestling fans, that was a big deal because you had Warrior was hot at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Warrior was just getting a lot of momentum, and Hogan was coming off of huge 80s run. I mean, Hogan's responsible, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, or whatnot. I mean, I know, later on, Terry and, Hogan, whatever you want to call him, got into some controversy down the line, whatever. We're not even going to get into all that. But as a athlete, as a superstar, WWE, you cannot deny what he has contributed to the business. And in the 80s, and he set the stage for the 90s. Hogan was that guy. There were others, Savage for sure, part of that. $1 Million Man. You always needed a good heel, and DiBiase was that guy in the 80s as well.
Forget it.
The best. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like some, cocky? Who doesn't hate? I should say some cocky, arrogant guy flaunting his money, like
yeah.
F you, dude. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, using his money to just do whatever he wanted, and he didn't care who didn't care. I mean, he didn't care who didn't like it. You know what I mean?
He didn't care.
We all want to take somebody like that and rough him up a little bit.
Outside. Yeah, take him outside a little bit. Let me show you what money can't buy right here. A beatdown right here for free, $3.99, my man. Yeah, but you used to. I mean, that's what good storytelling. That's how you knew. Like, if people hated somebody, you could see the fans either getting behind you or really despising them. That's when wrestling was real. Okay, and I want to say that. Not trying to say it's the F word now. Most fans go, no, it's real what they do in the ring. But I'm talking about that is the time, the golden age, and this is everything pro wrestling. What's going on, guys? So you start off coming off in the 80s. with that, Hogan just amplifying things, Savage, everything going on WWF. Now 90s started. Boom, wait a minute. Hogan and Warrior in the ring, Rumble. I first watched, my first event with my pops was WrestleMania 6. And I was a Hulkamaniac, okay?
So was I.
I was not gonna believe that Hogan lost. I said, he kicked out. They robbed him. I was arguing with the neighbor at like 4 years old. Arguing with the neighbor, I remember. And he's like, yeah, Warrior won. I says, no, Hogan won. No, I was going crazy. It was a big thing from WrestleMania 6 because, like, when have you seen prior to that Hogan lose? Okay, period. Clean like that in the ring. It was Mania. And then Warrior, he passed the torch on to the Warrior. It was title for title. The first time ever Mania.
The whole thing was an event. The whole thing was exciting, something we haven't seen before. When was the last time we saw babyface versus babyface? And not only babyface versus babyface, but the most popular two babyfaces going at it. When was the last time we saw that? Before that, we hadn't seen it. Not in our lifetimes.
No, not at all. And this is why it was so big. The Sky Dome, Toronto, Canada. And there was some, if you look at the card, man, WrestleMania 6 was one of those top tier WrestleManias overall, for me at least.
Mr. Perfect's first loss.
Yeah, another thing.
Mr. Perfect's first loss. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a huge card. I can't remember all the matches on there, but I remember that might have been also Andre's. That might have been Andre's last match, was it, in the ring? I think there was last pay-per-view match, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong.
Demolition versus Haku and Andre.
Yeah,
maybe.
I believe that's what it was. Yeah, thank you, Everything Pro Wrestling. Demolition versus Haku and Andre. I remember
Colossal Connection. Yes.
Colossal Connection. And that's when Heenan, he had a beef with Heenan after that, man. Andre left out there.
Smashed him up.
Yeah. I think that was his last, because he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a manager at either SummerSlam or Survivor Series that year. Probably SummerSlam, Andre, but he wasn't in a match after that on pay-per-view. I think that was it. He was going a lot of health issues at the time, too. He was banged up, man. But yeah, that was WrestleMania 6 was so memorable, man. And I was coming off of that, still arguing Hogan's case. And, we move along, 90s. We had some, like we mentioned, SummerSlam 1990, Rude Warrior cage main event. What do we got?
Let's not forget about the NWA side, which became WCW.
Yes.
Sting finally got his lick back against Ric Flair, won the World Heavyweight Championship, and one of the most, bro. When you talk about, because I used to watch everything, so when you talk about that moment when Sting finally got it and took the championship, man, the feeling that I got, man, I don't know. I can't even describe it.
Was that, again, correct me if I'm wrong, was that Great American Bash 90?
Bingo. Bingo.
Yeah, Great American Bash 90, where Sting won that against. Yeah, that match was one of the greatest matches, I believe, of all time. I can't help but to also think about the Steamboat. Everyone talks about the Steamboat Flair matches. The third one, though, my opinion, my personal favorite was the third one. Again, it was 89, but Jim Ross's commentary, holy smokes, man, on that match was just off the charts, man. Jim was Love 91, Sting Luger versus the Steiners. Yeah, Super Bowl. Yeah. Another great. Oh, God. And WCW events also were so underrated back in the early 90s. The Beach Blast, and there was what was the other? There was a couple other great ones. I'm trying to think with the it's not War Games. It was before it was like really War Games. Before it was Fall Brawl.
That was
Halloween Havoc was
Capital. Was it Capital Punishment? Was it?
I forgot. Somebody's gonna help me out with that one. But yeah,
somebody got to help us out. I don't remember too much.
Wrestle War. Thank you. This
Wrestle
is why.
War. There you go. Wrestle War 90. 100%.
Wrestle War, man. And some of those matches, watching back, because at that time, 90s, it was all WWF for me. I didn't get into WCW until I seen Hogan transition there at 94 Bash at the Beach, him and Flair. that, and Shaq was involved in the match. So it was a big deal. I was a big Shaq fan, Magic, So that's it was something though, like watching those matches back later on, seeing, and back in the night, we can't, unless we get the tape, the VHS, we're not going to be able to watch them. We rent them. So I remember renting a couple WCW ones back in the late 90s. And then later on, with the network, the beautiful thing about when the WWE network hit, and now, Peacock has the rights to the archive and the library, you can go back and you can watch some of these matches that were just absolutely amazing and remind you. It takes you back in the time, man. So that's the beautiful thing about that. But we're here in the 90s, so early 90s. Okay, we're talking pre-transition, because I want to get to the transition in a minute. There's a couple transitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, couple transitions. So yeah, capital punishment, everything pro wrestling. So they moved it around.
Yeah.
I want to say from 91, that time from like 90 to 92, those 3 years. It was just coming off again the 80s. A lot of the 80s guys still there, but we started getting some of the newer talent. The Rockers were cooking, and then we seen, Shawn Michaels, eventually do his own thing. Guys like Michaels, guys like Bret Hart, it's been talked about so many times. They started really shining. I think it's because we got to the point where it was like with Hogan and Savage, and we had 92. 92 was that year, that last year that we seen a lot of different transitions, because we had our normal pay-per-views up to that point, the big four: Rumble, it was Mania, it was SummerSlam and Survivor Series. And then I think what happened in 92 is when Flair came in with that title, with that WCW, you distorted the real world champion, coming in with the belt. I thought that was mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, at the time when I seen him do this as a kid, I didn't know Ric Flair. I'm like, who's this guy? No, at that time, I didn't know Flair.
Yeah.
Because I was WWF. Like, who is this guy thinking that he's the world champion? He's not going over Hogan, going to put him in his place. And then you watch the 92 Rumble, which is the greatest, one of the greatest, if not the greatest Royal Rumbles of all time. The title was on the line in the Rumble. And God, look at the talent that was involved in that one, man.
Hall of Fame talent. Hall of Fame talent.
All across.
Through and throughout. Yeah.
All across the board.
What's the ball?
So, Savage, Flair,
Piper,
Slaughter, Sid Justice. I mean, and the list goes on. Of course,
Michaels.
Michaels. Yeah.
I think Kerry Von Erich, Texas Tornado. I believe he was in there too. Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Undertaker, because we skipped over Undertaker.
Yes.
Survivor Series 90, but he was in there.
Yeah, Taker was in there.
DiBiase.
DiBiase was in there. Yeah, he was one of the early ones with Bulldog. Yeah.
Yep.
They were earlier on, and Flair coming in number 3, obviously last out. Boss Man, I remember during the halfway mark, I think he came in around the halfway mark, and we started picking it up again. That ring started filling up, man, and I'm like, look at some of these names in here. And then, of course, you have the main man, the biggest name of all, the Warlord, coming in.
They did him dirty.
Yeah, man, it was a damn good.
They had to do him dirty. Like, look at the size of this guy. Like, if you don't do him like that, he better catch a lot of bodies in there. A dude that size coming in there.
No, you got. I mean, you can't. I mean, you have to make it believable, right? Some of these guys in there, I mean, just high-level athletes, and earlier on in their career, like Michaels doing his thing. But overall, 92 Rumble, one of the best Rumbles of all time. Bottom line.
Mr. Perfect. Hercules.
Yeah, so many names, man. And then you think about that promo Flair cut right after that, becoming a world champion.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, man.
With a tear in his eye.
When I say it's with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment of my life. When you walk around claiming to be the real world champion, the only way you can stay number 1 is to be number 1. And this is the only. I remember the whole thing, bro, because I played that back. it brought a tear to my eye. And you talk about promos. Back then, promos, like the big Flair owned it. I don't care what anybody says. To this day, there's nobody greater on that mic than Ric Flair, promo-wise, my opinion, okay? But you had some greats. Savage with the intensity. Jake Roberts, of course, right? Jake Piper.
Oh, yeah. With his cerebral promos. It was just haunting. You know, you look at him, you look in his eyes, you hear him talking.
And you
and
listen.
Like, yeah, and you're listening. And you're like, yo, this guy, there's something with this guy. This guy's something different. I don't want to see this guy, you know. Then he's got the snake, you know, then he's got Damien. Oh, yeah. Dusty. Oh.
Dusty, come on, baby. Let me tell you something about hard times, Daddy. Dusty, yeah, Dusty was one of the greatest. That's somebody we haven't talked about really too much because, you know, they gave him the polka dots in the early 90s and whatever, but Dusty owned it and he did his thing. And he doesn't get enough credit for sure. 80s, you know, obviously him and Flair, iconic feud that they had. But him coming in the 90s, still doing his thing. And
yeah, man, you know, Vince had to give him the good old humiliation job, you know.
Of course. I mean, why if he doesn't see any value in it, Vince, he's gonna just like, well, this is just a joke to me, damn it, you know. I'm gonna put polka dots, when I make, you know, just because we're probably where he came from, and he didn't believe in him, you know. But maybe he did. Maybe he just wanted to insult him. That's who even knows?
Yeah, because Dusty, in my opinion, because Dusty was the booker of NWA for that time. Dusty was the booker of Crockett Promotions. So Vince was like, yo, this was my competition. You know, I believe that's why Vince, you know, knowing what I hear about Vince and everything like that, I believe that's what it was, which is why he named Mike Jones, the wrestler that we knew as Virgil, rest in peace. Yeah. The $1 Million Man's manservant. That's why he named him Virgil, because that's Dusty Rhodes' real name. So, you know, so everything makes sense in Vince's head. You know, the gimmick of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, that's a gimmick that Vince said if he was a wrestler, he would have had that gimmick. So, you know, taking real life and fiction, Virgil's Vince's manservant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there it is. Because
it's deep-rooted stuff. Yeah,
it is.
So when Dusty came in, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna eat some humble pie, buddy."
Wow, that's a good point there, Swift. Thank you for adding that to it, because you're right. And Vince, you know, I'm thinking about $1 Million Man gimmick, right? The fact that this man would give him money just to flaunt it and just really live the gimmick. It's like, just imagine that. This guy going around. Like,
this guy,
like, oh, damn it, I'm going to give you mad cash. I'm going to give you, you're going to go around and you're going to be the $1 Million Man. I can just see him going nuts in the office.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We got some comments here. Tony says, it wasn't the big gold belt, it was WWF tag team belt that he blurred out. Yes. Okay, Tony, thank you.
After NWA, they brought the injunction. Oh, that's our property, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then they started having the tag title, you know, with the video distortion, because they couldn't show the NWA belt anymore.
The video distorted? Yeah. I'm digging it out, bro. Hey, what's up, John? John in the building, John Blaine.
John, what's up, bro?
Son of a plumber, baby, my sweet sapphire. Oh, man. I love it. Lawrence, what's going on, buddy? Regarding promos of my game, Mick Foley in his 90s Cactus Jack Mankind days. Oh, man. That's another great point.
Oh, yeah.
Mick. Yeah, Mick is great on the microphone, too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's tough. It's tough to say he's the best on the mic, but he's one of the best back then, Lawrence. I'll give you that. Because you had so many good people back then. You had so many great people on the microphone, because the promo, it meant more back then than what it did and what it does, I should say, now. I feel like, you know, we don't get a lot of those big time backstage promos anymore, especially during the pay-per-view stuff, like what we get now, like we did back then. I remember those Hogan promos. Okay. So outlandish, dude. I mean, like, I don't know if it was his mind, roids, beer, Coke, I don't know, all that mixed together. But Hogan's thing, talking about And when the fault line breaks from New York, Tampa, all that way down to Tampa, man, and I slam Andre through the Trump Plaza, brother, and all the other opponents fall. And notice how Hogan put himself over even in the fucking promo. All the other opponents hit the ocean floor and I pin him. Listen to that. I heard that. I'm like, this guy just put himself over in the promo. Come on, man. This is it. But yeah, those promos were nuts.
This is next month's opponent.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? Very difficult.
This is a great point. This is a great point right here.
Ooh, yes. We're gonna get to ECW. Yeah, those ECW days, man. They revolutionized.
Oh yeah.
And they started it up, man. I'm gonna hop on the chopper and I'm gonna fly right to your house and put it
That's holding.
Yeah. Take it all up. I got my hands on a pair of ape hangers, brother. And me and brother Brudai, man. And he fucking, when he was talking, I think it was SummerSlam 89. That was another one. Those promos, man, you can't forget them, man, because it's so outlandish. And it was great. Yeah. It was good stuff, man. I mean, because, we know what it is. Yeah, but back then.
The cocaine, the steroid ever.
Yeah, without a doubt. He's juiced up, daddy. He's, but, back then, too, again, promos, they meant more. It meant because for us, for fans, we believed this was real back then. Like, legitimately believed wrestling was real back in the 80s and even the 90s until we got to a certain point. And maybe we got older. Maybe that's what it was. But there was a time period, people take it very serious. You had to live that character in real life, too. And shout out to Undertaker, again, because another thing we skipped over, his debut, Survivor Series 90, this gimmick. The Undertaker gimmick, dude. I mean, one of the greatest characters, if not the greatest of all time. Bottom line. The fact, his loyalty with the company from 90, from when he started to when he finished, never left. He was a staple of WWF, WWE, coming in with Brother Love, and then Ted DiBiase introduced him, but Brother Love manager, and then, having Paul Bearer. This guy, a legit mortician, okay? It was a perfect combination for that gimmick, and it's, yes, my Undertaker. Just that voice is piercing, dude. It was, it was great when him and Paul, Mark Calloway. Yep,
me, Mark.
Yep. Taker ruled the ring and the backstage. Very good point, Lawrence. He was general, man. He was a locker room leader, as they called it. Very respected, because I haven't, hope nobody has really heard anything negative about the Undertaker behind the scenes. So many people in this business, so many stories, even to this day, with the new ones getting unleashed, and people talking about other individuals in the business. And Taker, you never heard a bad thing about Taker. What did Tony say here? My favorite was Brother Love. Oh, yeah. Can we do this one, Swift? I want to tell you, I love you. Oh, Bruce Pritchard. Not really a huge fan of the guy, and maybe the book. And I don't know him as a person, as an individual, so I can't judge him on a human being level. But backstage politics, what I heard, not fan of it. But Brother Love, I love Brother Love. Back in
the red face. The red face.
Yeah, sort of like with this light shine. I'm like halfway there now, man. Brother Love style. Brother Jimmy. Yo, the greatest Brother Love moment, I think, though, was when Piper doused him. No, Piper on that show, I think it was. Well, no, it was Piper's Pit. I got confused. My bad.
Yeah, Piper's Pit. Yeah.
Piper's Pit with Downey in the WrestleMania 5 moment. But there was another moment with Brother Love at an event. Forgot what it was. But anyway, fast forward, we're at 92, right? We're talking 92. And this was the transition. This was the first year coming off of that Rumble, first year that we had the title on the line in the Rumble. And then, we fast forward to another event, big event in that year. Not going to really talk too much about Mania. I guess we could say the main event at Mania was Hogan and Sid. And then Papa Shango, I think, interfered in this
My main event was Flair and Savage. That's my main event. I don't care who went on last.
You're right. That was my main event. So they stole the show. Yeah. They killed Savage and Flair that match. Yeah. In the build, the story, look like Flair with the women. And look at Liz, talking about Liz, and yeah, it was me before she was mine, before yours, she was yours. Yeah, he was talking all that, man. And the
Man,
cutout.
that was my main event, bro. That was my main event.
Yeah, no, 1000%, man. And their promos too, both of their promos. Before, after Savage, man, and he's always, the intensity's always there with him. But when he won that belt, it was a feel good moment for me when he beat Flair in the ring. Best match of the night, definitely my main event along with yours. And then for him backstage, I want the whole Flair package.
Yeah, the whole Flair package. Well, let me tell you, my co-main event, Piper and Bret Hart. That was my co-main.
Yeah. That was a good one on the card too. Yeah, Piper and Bret for sure. Because you really can't think of anything else. Undertaker Jake was not that great. The opening was Michaels and El
Matador.
El Matador. Tito Santana.
Yeah, Tito Santana. Yeah.
I am the model. Smell the arrogance. Oh yeah.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
They had some good matches, and then of course Lex Luger, that whole Bobby Heenan thing, the WBF. Debuting Luger on there at WrestleMania 8.
I was so excited.
Yeah, and it wasn't around this time, or it was 91, I think. WCW then came in to effect. It was WCW 91, yeah. I think it was official at that.
Yeah, that's when they transitioned the name, because WCW was just the name of one of their programs. World Championship Wrestling, that's the name of one of their programs. And then they said, "Oh, listen, let's brand it. We don't need the NWA anymore, man. Forget those guys. We're bigger. We're bigger than the NWA."
Oh yeah, no, and that's what happened. And then it was 91, and then 92. We got a lot of the crossover because Flair. I feel like after 90, after that loss to Sting, and then when the transition happened with WCW, there was a lot of also other tension going on. But it's kind of, he was in limbo a little bit, and then. He wasn't himself and came to WWF from what I was, watching and hearing him say. And then came into WWF, boom. And, obviously we know what happened. We just talked about that. Big Wembley Stadium, also 92, SummerSlam. Just massive attendance there, man. And it's one of those SummerSlams that many people remember because of it, because it was different, because of the location and the matches. And I think, wasn't it, if I'm not mistaken, it was Warrior and Savage, yes, for the World Championship at that event. And
yes, the rematch.
Flair and Perfect, yes, Flair and Perfect interfered with that whole storyline. But for me, it was the main event. It was Davey Boy and Bret that stole the show. Main event, good stuff. But this was all part of the transition, and you started seeing these other guys. Look at the main event there, Bret. Bulldog, you didn't see Hogan. You didn't see Savage, even though it was champion. Like, you didn't see these guys in the main event anymore. Or Warrior, it was a whole new, we had a new breed coming into WWF at the time. And then the first time ever that Survivor Series did not have those classic Survivor Series matches, which threw me off. Like, I don't know why they did this. I have no idea. But they decided, hey, this is a good idea. Let's just do it differently. And obviously it didn't work, I guess, the way they wanted. So they went back in 93 and they did, once again, the classic Survivor Series matches. But this is the first stage, the first transition, when we go from, wait a minute, Jay, what's up? NJ Slot Guy in the building, baby.
You got NJ Slot Guy. What's up, bro? That's the man that lights the place on fire.
Oh, yeah, man. Lights it up. Let's spin. Let's win. Now that he's in the building, we're winning already. So
damn right.
He's a big wrestling fan too, so he probably seen. Oh, let me just chime in. It's John. Anytime, yeah, you heard retro wrestling. I know. Yeah, man. We're talking right now. We're up to the first transition of the 90s, John. We're talking 93. When we got this new generation, and it was a weird time from 93 for WWF, from 93 to 97. In this time where it was, I guess, the new generation, you want to call it. And no, you're welcome, buddy. We appreciate it. Hope all is well, Johnny boy. I'm going to send you that audio soon. It was 93 where now we see Yokozuna. Yeah. Dude.
Scary guy.
I didn't know he was Samoan until later on. I'm like,
nobody knew.
Yeah, it was fucking. I'm
He's
thinking
Japanese, damn it.
this is what's his name from Street Fighter. God damn.
Yeah, E Honda. That's E
E
Honda.
Honda. Yeah, it's E Honda. Yokozuna coming in there. I remember though, 93
With the wedgie.
Yeah, I remember watching the 93 Rumble on the pay-per-view. And I was obviously this was the time where I know Jannetty and Michaels had their match finally on the card. And then Ramon was getting hot and he was taking on Bret Hart for the title. These new guys started coming, Razor Ramon, and Bret was on fire.
Bret was working with them. He was working with them. He wasn't holding them down. He was working with them.
Absolutely. Luger slam Yoko. Yeah, the crowd went intrepid.
4th of July, baby.
And we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about that because I love this. It's so underrated. This time period from 93 to 97 WWF, or even just 93, 94, 95.
Crucial time as well.
Yeah, and there was a lot going on at the time behind the scenes with Court, Vince, and everything else going. So that was kind of the reason, in my opinion, why we started seeing Bret on top. That in my opinion was part of the reason we started seeing Bret and Shawn. Of course, their talent was undeniable. And Bret internationally, he was having the fans were right. They were getting all the letters for Bret, but it coincided with the steroid scandal. I don't know if we should talk about that right now. That's a whole other topic for sure. But you're right about that, man. And it worked out, for Bret, and rightfully so. Bret's a worker, man. He's one of the greatest technicians of all time. There's no denying that.
We wanted that.
Oh yeah, no, we did. I mean, we wanted different. We wanted something different because we were tired at this point. How much more of Hulk Hogan, an Ultimate Warrior, and I love Savage, but come on, we need something different. We need new guys, and the new generation was starting to flood here. We had Shawn Michaels. This is Monday Night Raw, January 11, 93. That's when we debuted. Monday Night Raw in the Manhattan Center. Okay, huge fucking event deal, I should say, for WWF. They got their first live show here, boom, Raw, weekly, okay? And that was a game changer. Because before that, right before that, what we had? We had Superstars, Wrestling Challenge, something like that.
And you had there was a show in the same time slot as Monday Night Raw, but it was called it was a studio show. They would show matches, but Vince would be there in the studio with Heenan. I forgot the name of it. Primetime Wrestling. It was called Primetime Wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. But Monday Night Raw was a new format. They said, we're gonna go live. At the time everything was taped. They said, we're going live. It's gonna be Raw. Anything can happen when it's live. So that's where they got the name Monday Night Raw from. And like you said, January 1993, from New York, Manhattan Center, 34th Street right there. Every week we're gonna be live, we're gonna be Raw, and that was how it started. Yeah.
They picked it up, bro. They picked it up right there at that point. And this is when we started seeing these new faces like Shawn. I know Tony said Big Daddy Cool Diesel came in as bodyguard. Yeah. And that was Raw he debuted on. Another, and then even in one of the first ever Monday Night Raws, I think it was it might have been the second or third Raw, we had Flair's retirement match against Perfect, incredible match on Raw.
Yeah, Loser leaves town.
Yeah, those early Raws, man, it was just something about them. You didn't have the greatest matches on there, but you had some really cool moments. Later on too, we talking about Razor and the Kid. That's one of those highlights that people talk about. But yeah, that 1, 2, 3 Kid again coming in 93, all these new faces now, and then for the first time ever announced, here's fucking Royal Rumble. Julius Caesar comes out because we have fucking, Caesar's Palace outside the first outside WrestleMania in Las Vegas. That we just, those that seen that documentary on the network, you know what I'm talking about, how much went into that. And it was cool that they showed that. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was a pretty damn good documentary. WWE always puts together incredible docs. So I love that. But
I'm going to tell you how they messed up though.
Oh, how?
You know what would have made that show better?
What?
If they would have had NJ Slot guy there.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, hell yeah, man. NJ Slot guy live from Vegas. Yeah,
They
baby,
messed
we're
up.
playing Lightning. He's over there. He's talking about it. That's who we needed. They need to sign John, man. John, I'll tell him, right? And they're going to Vegas next year. John, we got to do something here. They're going to be in Vegas for Mania next year, buddy. We got to get you on the card some capacity. But, yeah, man, 93, that outdoor Mania, and even just finishing up on the Rumble, seeing Yokozuna win that Rumble. I wanted Savage to win it as a fan. They had an entire match, those last two in the ring. I think it was like a 5-minute match almost. Them two in the ring, and fucking Yoko just tosses Savage from the floor. I don't know why it was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for an elbow and go to pin you. Don't get it, but hey, whatever. Toss him over the top rope from the fucking floor of the ring, just showing Yoko's dominance. And this is where it gets confusing. Why are you going to have Hulk Hogan win the World fucking Championship at WrestleMania after you build Yokozuna into this beast, into this monster? You know, I think, wasn't it like he broke Jim Duggan's ribs? Or am I thinking about?
He crushed Duggan. He crushed Earthquake. I believe he crushed Boss Man, I believe it was.
Yeah.
All of the big dudes. He was demoing all of the big guys. They were nothing to him. He ran through like a murderer's row of big dudes, man. And then
Jay Salcido,
what's up, Jay?
Brother,
you know, yes indeed. So he was running through guys. He was running through guys, and he was not taking it easy on the enhancement talent. When you were watching him on Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge, and he comes off that middle rope, he's sitting it all down on them, bro, all on their chest.
Oh yeah,
it made him a scary dude. He's sitting there like this with his arms crossed, feet spread out. He's sitting on these guys, man, and you're like, oh man,
yeah.
If he wrestles this person, it's, I'm scared for them. That type of feeling.
I don't know how they were able to breathe with that big dude on top of them, man. Like, I mean,
they were enhancement talent. They didn't matter. Like,
it didn't matter if they when you Drago, they die.
That was the thing. Enhancement talent. We come into town today. Enhancement talent. We gotta look sick on them, and then we'll take it easy on the guys that we work with. But we have to look scary. So that's how that works.
The job, yeah. They have
it's a messed up system, but that's what it was.
I don't even think
we're not here to make them look good. Yeah.
No, I don't. You need there's somebody for every position. You need workers. You need guys you have your big names, you have your mid carders, you have your enhancement talent. We don't use the J word; it's insulting. But these guys serve the purpose. Why not? Who was the enhancement talent that Yokozuna almost killed? That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I don't have enough fingers to count.
Yeah. No, but
I know what he's talking about. I just don't remember his name.
But you remember, okay, that time you needed these guys. You needed these people just to
100%.
really make superstars look strong. And they build Yokozuna up for WrestleMania 9 against Brett, and Brett was on fire.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, there's no way, this is it. Nobody in Vegas. What was the spread? What was the line? Somebody tell me what the line. John, you may have known this, John.
Yeah.
Slot
guy.
What was the line on Hogan leaving with the title? Because if you came out of nowhere and says, you know what? You knew Hogan. You knew how he was in real life. You knew there might have been some politicking going on. Somebody says, it's got to be 1,000,000 to 1. Okay? I'm going to put 100 on Hogan winning his belt. Right now, you probably are sitting on top of the world from 93.
This is what works for me, brother.
Nobody thought Hogan was leaving there with the belt. And why? I mean, that's the craziest fucking. Who would like you have this whole storyline? Brutus gets into the accident. Hogan also gets into an accident prior to this, or whatever happens there. But these two are going. Yeah, yeah. Oh, he
That's
just
something called the fifth. Yeah.
out of nowhere. So these two, the what was it, the Mega Maniacs or something like that? It was.
The
I
Mega
know.
Maniac.
Yeah,
Mega Maniacs.
and versus DiBiase, Money Inc., DiBiase and IRS in the tag match. You didn't think that these guys were gonna go. Hogan was gonna go to main event. So anyway, why do this? This is what pissed me off. Later on when I watched it again as a Hulkamaniac as a kid, Hogan's on top again.
He saved them. Yeah, he saved them.
The day again. All to drop it to Yokozuna at King of the Ring and leave.
Bro, the whole thing reached a sketch. Like Brett loses. First of all, like you said, like you stated before, you give Yokozuna this crazy build. You match him up with your top guy, Brett the Hitman Hart. They go at it. Nice match. He goes over, as his booking would indicate. He's going over. And then you get Hogan out of nowhere. Like, bro, you just wrestled a tag match, bro. Like, you got nothing to do with this. Like, whose idea was this to take all of this time and money and energy that we pushed into these two guys and then just pass it off to you in the lateral? Whose idea was that? It was Hogan's idea.
It's got to be. Tony says, Jimmy, they're pulling that shit again with Jey Uso, lose the title, Gunther, just to make Bill Goldberg get a pop. Listen, Oldberg needs to just retire, okay? I'm not going. I was never a fan of this guy, and we'll get to that. We're gonna get to Goldberg too, because we get late '90s here. All right, so that's a good Swift. Thank you for that, man. That was a great point. Why do this? And then we have the debut of the King of the Ring, '93. I try to put this together and make it make sense, right? So I try to think. Go ahead. What do you say?
Yeah, that was in June. That was in June. That was like what, 2 months after Mania? Mania's in April.
About 2.5, 3 months after. Yeah, after
3 months. Yeah.
And I love this idea, this concept, the King of the Ring, and I don't understand how they fucked this up. Okay, because we'll get to it. We'll get to King of the Ring, but here we are, the first to debut the inaugural King of the Ring. And then all right, Brett wins the King of the Ring. So here's my logic on this afterwards, as I got older. Maybe it wasn't, I try to make it make sense. It didn't make sense at the beginning. Fucking Hogan comes out of nowhere. But then it's like, well, Yoko just wrestled Bret Hart. He was already winded. Hogan got a quick one on him. And then Yoko won the match. But of course, he didn't win it clean because somebody with a fucking kamikaze explosion with this camera, whatever the hell it was, going on by the ringside here. Okay, why can't it be clean? Because it's not in his contract, brother. That's why. But anyway, Yoko goes over, and it looks like, okay, if he would have went over clean, Yoko's now even stronger. He beat Hogan fair. Boom. And Brett won the King of the Ring. So Brett kind of like said, all right, well, I lost. I'm back at the bottom. Now I'm back on top. And he put in the work and came out.
It was a make good. Yeah, that was a make good.
That was a make good.
Absolutely. I'm the real king. I'm the real king of this land.
Yeah. Oh, In Your House, dude. We're going to talk about In Your House as well, Tony. We're getting to that. We're getting there. We're scrolling along here. So, okay. So here we go. King of the Ring's over. Hogan's gone again. Yoko's champion. Bret Hart, boom, he's King of the Ring. And we get this whole tournament, which we loved at that point. And we move along. Here's Lex Luger, the Intrepid, the whole incident. Now, here we go again, right? The big build. Luger slams Yokozuna, and it's this whole Lex Express thing. I'll be your hero. That fucking song, right? He had this whole thing. Mr. fucking Patriotic. Luger's a man of the people. Vote Lex.
Out of nowhere to be clear, out of nowhere, because before that he was the narcissist,
Oh yeah, he was the knockout artist, as Perfect called him. The narcissist, the mirror man. This guy walking around with the finest of all time. The ladies there it is. Just
now he because it's 4th of July, he's the biggest patriot going.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Which I think that was a dig at Hogan. Oh yeah, you want to play with me? You want to tell the federal government? You want to go on with the federal government, say I made you take steroids, I did this, I was all of this. Now this is the American made guy. Now eat that.
I think you're right, man. I think it was a date. I love it though. Like, yeah, Jay. I thought he was going to be world champion. I mean, who again? 93 is the year of mind fuckery. That's what it is. Oh, Yoko's going to win. He's going to win. Hogan. Wait a minute. Lex Yoko. Lex going to win. Lex going to win. He won, but he didn't win the title. What's going on here, bro? What I didn't understand what happened here again with Lex Luger. Before that, he was the WBF builder sitting the he had a big glass of milk, few days off the Snickers bars. Fucking Luger. I mean, you got to give it. The guy was jacked, right? He had a physique like a Greek god over there, but he didn't get over. Like he really wasn't over. With
he didn't have time. He didn't have time to be over. He was never in any really meaningful storylines. I mean, he had that program with Mr. Perfect, but it was not. It didn't really flesh out, and it didn't really work out how it could have. Mr. Perfect wasn't Mr. Perfect anymore. He was he wasn't in the best health.
It was the best health, yeah.
Brett. Luger needed some matches with guys like Brett. Like he needed some matches with the top guys there to make the audience understand who he was. I knew who he was because I used to watch him in WCW, but the WWF fans never really got that. He's just some asshole. Oh, this guy. Oh, he does look in the mirror. He's trying to be Shawn Michaels. Like that's what the fans thought at the time. Yeah, he was kind of force fed.
You're right, and because again, coming from WCW, it's two different worlds. They can be huge in WCW and they're nobody in WWF. Ric Flair. People didn't really know. Like, okay, Ric Flair was the biggest thing right alongside Hogan in the 80s. Owned it. What was he when he came to WWF? I don't know this guy. Because it was a different audience. It's not like today where everybody's access to everybody. It was different areas and territories as well. I think you were able to get the pay-per-views obviously still, but WWF was massive where we were from on the Northeast, and coming in 1993, Luger. Now he switched the gimmick up. I mean, the build wasn't bad for him. It wasn't bad. This whole Lex Express patriotic atmosphere, the whole talking about, and this is another topic for another day. Talking about the stage designs WWF and WWE had. In the 90s, the special designs for different events and stuff like that. And we got, as we progress later on in the decade, we've seen better, more unique setups. And I wish we had that nowadays, those unique pay-per-view stage designs. We don't have that like we used to have it. I miss those. But this one, I guess, if you think about it, other than like the Mania and Caesar's Palace and those setups, this was it, 93. It was very patriotic, red, white, and blue, all over the place. And I got to say, this was the biggest fucking celebration for nothing, just to celebrate. The man knocked Yokozuna out, won the match because he was knocked out on the outside. And it was a count out, right? And he wins. Go ahead. What do you say?
And he cheated, by the way. Not in babyface fashion. He cheated. Yeah. And they said, "Oh, you can't use the metal arm." He used the metal arm.
Bionic elbow over there. Yeah, this.
Whose idea was that? They're like, bury the guy without showing us the shovel.
Yeah, man. It's true because like he knocks him out, and everyone comes to the ring. This Steiner is in Savage, and there's fucking balloons, and it's like, yeah, he's dead. But wait,
made them all look stupid. They all look like a bunch of freaking idiots. What are you celebrating? You look like a bunch of freaking idiots. Yeah, we did it. He's still the champion, dummy. Yeah.
What did you do? You didn't win the belt.
Everybody left that arena pissed off, and everybody who bought that pay-per-view,
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Right. Absolutely. I miss those stages. I remember, man, so many great ones. Especially even in WCW, like the Bash of the Beach setups. I used to love that. The Halloween Havoc setups that they had. WWF was picking it up with the Backlash when they had the different Backlash setups and Unforgiven. What do we got here? Hold on a second. I miss Heartbreak. Yeah, the Heartbreak Hotel. Those little segments were great too. The funeral parlor, those custom designed segments.
The Snake Pit, Piper's Pit, the Snake Pit, the Body Shop. That was when Jesse the Body Ventura, when he was the host. The Body Shop, the Flower Shop with the Flower Shop. Adrian Adonis with the Flower Shop. The Slammy Awards were the Slammy Awards were fun. Those were fun when they were legit at legit venues and it was a legit award show. The Slammy Awards was some of my most fun memories.
Absolutely. I really they did so many great things in the night. They had so many unique things in the 90s, and they debuted so many things in this decade.
Yeah,
like,
really
you know, more of these like shows and segments that we're talking about, Heartbreak Hotel, Barbershop, stuff like that. We got the debut of King of the Ring. We had fucking, we're up to 93 now. So we had the 93. We were outside for the first WrestleMania. You know, we had more new talent coming in 93, 94. You know, we started seeing more athleticism during this time. It wasn't just punch, kick, body slam, elbow drop. You know, we had moves going on, maneuvers, especially with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels leading the way. You know, and the other side of that, like 93 Survivor Series, there was nothing really too memorable about that. You know, there was the Bret Owen feud going on, the family feud happening.
That was good.
Yeah. That storyline. Yeah. That storyline is
masterful. Yeah. Masterful storytelling.
That was probably at that time one of, if not the best, like storylines that they had going, because it was brothers. You know, it was a family feud going on, and Owen, he's the younger brother. He's overshadowed. Bret, I've been in your shadow. You know, what about you, Bret? Yep. You know, like Owen's pissed, man. This is his young, because his brother's a star, and he's showing like, yo, I could do the same thing my brother does. And then we get to and more. I loved Owen, man. I loved Owen more than Bret. It just, his promos too, so underrated. The man, the human being, from what we found out later on, was just an incredible guy, man. Gone too soon. Rest in peace, Owen. I mean, I really wish, I think about it now, if he was here today, these days, obviously he would have been up there, but what kind of matches we could have seen with him in the early 2000s.
Forget about it.
2000. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a talent. It's such a talent, man.
100%.
Tony, one of the Beverly Brothers? I mean, they had some unique music. Blake Bear. Okay.
Maybe not with that gimmick, but you know, they were partners everywhere. They were partners everywhere. Even we're gonna get into it later. Mike Enos and I forgot the other one's name, but they became Bo and Blake Beverly. You know, Vince had that. He had the tendency to do that. He'll take guys that are over, strip them down, and make them into his image with cartoony, goofy gimmicks and stuff like that. But they were a pretty good team. Let me tell you, their finishing move. I don't think they ever landed their finishing move on any established talent. They did it on enhancement talent only.
Yeah.
And it was very, very dangerous. And you look at it, you could pull it up on YouTube. You look at it, you're like, oh, you don't even want to watch it. You see how the guys land on their head and neck.
Yeah.
And like, oh, there's no way they're doing this to these guys. And they never hit it on anybody with the name ever.
Well, it's like the LOD, man. Doomsday Divide off the top rope, that close on that. I mean, that's dangerous, man. Somebody flips over the wrong way right in the neck. Yes, some incredible tag teams we got too. That's again a whole other discussion. Tag teams of the 90s. But yeah, man, to your point on this, what we're talking about, what I think you were saying, somewhere 93. Oh yeah, we're talking Bret Michaels, the new transition, 94, the storyline, right, with Bret and Owen, and we get to 94. Dude, that 94 Rumble was one of my personal favorites as well. I mean, top to bottom, the card, that infamous moment where Bret and Owen, the build up, the spillover happened, and then Owen just kicked Bret's leg, and that promo afterwards was like, "I knew you had a bad leg. It's like, yeah, you just wanted to sit in the ring and do the Bret, so I kicked your leg out of your leg, Bret. You're too damn selfish." You know, the way he did it, man. And
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. because that happens, man, in families, sibling rivalry, right? You're jealous of your brother or your sister or something like that. Like, you son of a bitch, your mom's favorite. You always get away with murder. Like, this is what happened. That's what it reminded me of so much, man, with Owen and Brett. And then we got Taker, that infamous Rumble, him and Yokozuna, the casket match where everybody and their mom came out to try to stop Taker. And I think it wasn't until Diesel showed up that they finally put the nail in the coffin for Taker, or so we thought, and him rising. That was awesome. And we didn't see Taker again until around Survivor Series. No, until SummerSlam that year.
Yeah, SummerSlam.
Rumble. This was like, I love this Rumble because, Swift, we were talking about this earlier. I'm going to let you talk about it, about one guy. Like, you get those Rumbles where you say it. You were telling me this before. I want you to say it. Talk about the Rumble.
The object of these themed events was and the object of pro wrestling was always to put guys over, to make new stars. And this Royal Rumble was used as a tool to pretty much show people, pretty much to tell the audience, listen, this guy is coming up. You're on notice. This is the guy to look for.
Yeah.
And the guy who did it that year was Big Daddy Cool Diesel. He was Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, and he came in, he showed up, he showed out, man. He was just bodying guys left and right. Throwing them over the ring, throwing them over the ropes, showed out. And the crowd got behind it. They're like, oh, we don't like this guy. He's Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, but he's getting busy. He's no joke. And everybody remembers the imagery where he just cleared the ring and he's there and he's just there waiting and he's like, yo, come on. He's checking his, I don't know. That was Austin checking the thing, but I think Diesel was doing some things like that too.
Yeah, but he's waiting for the next competitor.
Yeah. Chilling. He's there chilling. Like, yo, who's that? Here we go, Goldberg. But he was embodying that energy, and the audience was behind him. They're like, yo, this guy's a freaking problem, Yeah. So it was very important and instrumental in him becoming who he became.
Yeah, and that's what the Rumble. I think that was the first. Well, I don't know if it was the first Rumble because I'm thinking back to it. I mean, there's always that one guy that lasts a long time to the end, and they really shine, like the Motto in '91, and there was somebody else I know in 90, 92. Flair did it, the whole Rumble. But 93, Yoko being dominant, Diesel was dominant at the beginning. He was that guy. I think that's really where it started to become a thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was a tryout. It was a tryout to see, what does the audience think about this guy? Yeah. This is what we're going to do. We're thinking about doing this. Let's see how the audience reacts. Yeah. And the audience were all in. They were like, yeah, we want it. We want this. And they're like, okay, let's strap the rocket to him.
No, 100%, man. And then it wasn't until I think Savage kind of broke it a little bit, and then ring started filling up. That was the best part about it. The ring got so packed in this one, man. It was bodies everywhere. It was entertaining. Yeah. And the first one, because I guess you could say it's the only one that we had double winners again. So what are they doing here? Lex, Brett, all this going on here, and then we see what happens at Mania again. What are they trying to continue a feud with Perfect and Luger because he loses with Yoko, and then Brett wins the title again. So 94, there were so many great moments out of 94 for WWF, but also WCW when Hogan signed over there. It was a big deal. Yeah, it was a big deal, man. Him and building up that Bash at the Beach with him and Flair. And the time where Flair just started getting screwed over left and right. But Hogan was that guy, and he drew eyes. This was big. This was the early stages of the wars, the Monday Night Wars. This is when, oh wow, okay, now we're getting Hogan, this big name coming over to WCW.
This is the start of the bidding wars.
Yeah, what's this product? People that didn't know what's going on here, because Hogan's there now. So this got to be a big deal, and that's what happened. They started getting more eyes on WCW. 94. WWF again started, moving in the right direction with newer talent, more exciting matches. Tatanka, and you had 1, 2, 3 Kid. Again, Michaels, Brett was owning it. Diesel, Razor Ramon, the Click, infamous Click. Everybody talks about. SummerSlam was a great SummerSlam that year. That again, Owen and Brett, that storyline. Oh my God, just from Mania. Yeah, Mania, Owen going over, then the Steel Cage, the Family Feud. That was it in 94, dude. That was the storyline of the year. And that Steel Cage match stole the show. That should have been the main event. I mean, I love that Taker came back and it was Undertaker, under Faker, if you will. But that cage match was so damn good. Just thinking about 94 now, we transitioned. Undertaker's back, puts Yoko in the casket. I remember at Survivor Series, Chuck Norris was there for that one for Survivor Series. And we get into 95.
Whoa. Easy. Slow it down, buddy. Slow it down, buddy. Let's talk about Survivor Series 94.
Okay.
I believe it was at SummerSlam. Michaels and Diesel win the tag team. Whoa. Let's go back even further. King of the Ring 94. Owen Hart wins it.
Owen Hart wins King of the Ring.
And this was back in the days when it was a little experiment they had where the winner of King of the Ring would get the title shot at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So this is when they were doing that. So Shawn and what were they called at the time? Shawn and Diesel. I forgot what they were called. But they won the tag titles from the Head Shrinkers.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep, I do.
And then at Survivor Series, I think you had 1 or 2 Survivor Series matches. The team format.
Yeah.
Shawn kicked Diesel, caused them to get eliminated, or caused them to lose the titles. I don't really remember exactly what it was, but the dissension started.
Oh, yeah.
The dissension started, I think, at SummerSlam, and at the Survivor Series, that was like pretty much the last straw. So that happens, and at that time, Survivor Series was on Wednesday night, or was it on Thanksgiving night? You remember? It was on Thanksgiving Eve at that time, right?
Thanksgiving Eve, yeah. I think it was still on Thanksgiving Eve.
Okay, yeah. So Shawn and Diesel lost the titles. They lost the tag titles because Shawn kicked Diesel, super kicked him by mistake. They lose the titles.
2 dudes with attitudes. Yep, 2 dudes with attitudes.
There you go.
Thank you,
2 dudes with attitudes. Thank you. Appreciate it. And jackpot. So that weekend at Madison Square Garden, that night, Bret Hart loses the title because of Owen Hart to Bob Backlund.
Yeah.
That weekend, non-televised event right here at the Garden.
Yep.
Diesel wins the title from Bob Backlund in 5 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happened back then, though. Like things happen like this at a house show. Just crazy.
Yeah, at the Garden. The Garden was the place.
Yeah.
So we can't skip that. We gotta say those important things. Those are important pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Owen and his jealousy that he lost at SummerSlam. He pretty much played Stu and Martha Hart. Come on, please. This is my brother. I love him. Everything's in the past. He was locked in the chicken wing. Come on, please. He's crying.
Yeah.
He gets Helen to throw the white towel in. He throws in the towel. Bob Backlund's the new champion. And listen, it was only further in the storyline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is classic long form storytelling, and it worked. It was well done. And at the same time, Shawn and Diesel had their little dissension there, and then they broke. Diesel wins the title. The fans go crazy, like Vince thought they would. The fans go nuts. Oh, he beat him in 5 seconds, or whatever it was. He kicked him, jackknifed him, and pinned him. Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, pins him. Next thing you know, the next time you watch TV, Monday Night Raw, Bob Backlund's not the champion. Diesel the champion. People are like, what? What did I miss? Oh, you missed Madison Square Garden.
That was that series of events that happened right there was uncanny, man, and it happened so quick. And like you said, the long form storytelling, that was big. That was a big deal, man, back then. And that's right. They're doing it again now. But like what we're seeing, this build, this Owen and Brett storyline was epic, man. And now they got Shawn and Diesel at each other's throats. So you're right. Now Diesel was coming into
at the same time. Yep.
Yeah. And Diesel was the first man to hold all three belts in a single year. And the tag titles and the Intercontinental and the World Championship. And then we're getting into 95 where Diesel's world champion. And again, new generation. This is what's happening with the click and everything. Diesel world champion. Shawn Michaels, okay, in Bulldog, this Rumble match, okay, and the winner was going to walk arm in arm with Pam, at Mania. So that's what was on the line. 95 Rumbles here. And again, we're going to get a little WCW at this time too. While we were going, we didn't even mention ECW starting up 93 and starting to pick up a lot of momentum too during this time. So all of this was happening. We even had ECW stars, I believe. Was it 97? They were on WWE Raw programming.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. But what I'm saying is, like, from right here now, 95 was a weird year for me because, like, we knew what we got prior to 93. And in 93, 94, we started seeing this new gen. But this was, for WCW, for the wars, this was the real beginning of everything. I remember watching Uncensored 95 WCW. I remember watching those pay-per-views back then. I love the 95 WCW pay-per-views. I love 96 WCW pay-per-views. WWF in 95 started adding more. They had Raw. Now we see In Your House.
There you go, Tony.
Yeah, Tony, there's the In Your House. And I think the first one was May of 95. It opened up with Hakushi and Bret Hart, if I'm not mistaken.
But let's talk about what they did to promote it. They gave away a house.
A house, yes.
For the premier event, they gave a house away to celebrate the debut of In Your House pay-per-view. And what In Your House was it was pay-per-views in between the big pay-per-views. It was pay-per-views monthly. And they were only 2 hours long at a cheaper price point. They were $14.95. Yeah. So, it was they would kind of give you no reason to be able to deny buying it. And they were giving you good matches too. Like In Your House I loved In Your House back then.
I'm with you on that, man. I miss those. In Your House pay-per-views. It was just even the setup. It's just the setup alone. Mm-hmm. The whole house there. It had a very comforting feeling, like here's his house, entranceway was a nice design. And at the time, really we weren't getting these different like stage designs for WWF pay-per-views. We weren't. We're getting maybe the entrance a little changed, but this was the first one, I believe, for WWF that really started being consistent. Okay, wow, we get this whole little setup here with the house. It's its own thing, its own gimmick. We got into the 95, the shortest Royal Rumble ever. Everybody's coming in fast and furious, I think, because of the timing of it. We started seeing the build for this main event where they're now bringing in football. They're, the cross promotion here with Lawrence Taylor, Bam Bam Bigelow. That great match between Brett and Diesel at the Rumble 95. And Michaels and Bulldog. This is the iconic Rumble where they started at number 1, made it to the end. Michaels held on. 2 feet didn't touch the floor. That moment was created. Magic. The rest is history. Where now it's Michaels and Diesel facing off at Mania. You find out, trying to fast forward a little bit because we got so much to get to. So we're at the middle of 95. Fast forward.
First 2 guys in the ring were the last 2 guys in the ring.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that was the first time that happened. The first time it happened. A lot of firsts in 95. We started seeing more things added. A lot of firsts In Your House. That with the Rumble, the 2 feet incident. Diesel retaining the title. He retained the title against Michaels at Mania. We, again, fast forward. That Mania was weak. It was very weak, WrestleMania 11. I wasn't really a big fan of that one.
It felt... if you watch it from the beginning, it feels big, but it just doesn't really doesn't really even with the inclusion of like all of these stars. Like they were trying to get back to what WrestleMania was. Like if you remember WrestleMania when it first started, they had all of the stars, you know. Oh, this is the place to be. You know, you got Liberace, you got Muhammad Ali, you got Mr. T, you got this one, you got that one. Bob Uecker, you got all of these guys, you know. And WrestleMania 95, they were trying to bring it back to that. Listen, this is a spectacle. You know, they had John Turturro. If you remember John Turturro, they had him. They had that kid from
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas. They brought all of the stars out. They really did. And they also got, like you said, they got to see Lawrence Taylor wrestle Bam Bam Bigelow. Yeah. But they were trying to bring WrestleMania back to where it felt like it was a big deal. We're gonna have the stars. We're gonna have this. We're gonna have that. All you know.
They tried. I mean, I don't
miss the mark.
Yeah, there's you know what it is. There's so much to talk about, and I like one day we're gonna have conversation about a couple different topics for sure. But
for sure.
Trying to move around and see like as fast. It's hard because you and I we can dissect these things, man.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Really get into it. I would love to, but people would be like, Jimmy, what are you running a telethon? So
give me 1 second. I'll be right back with you. One second. You could keep going. I'll be right back.
Gotcha. I'll keep you up to speed when we get rolling here. So let's see. Wait, Tony says New Jack, Mike Awesome, Shane Douglas, Sabu, Sam Taz. Yep. Oh my God, dropping the names for ECW, man. ECW was something very different, breath of fresh air, and that's why it was so successful in the 90s, especially because we got the same kind of format with WWF and WCW, and fans didn't know what to feel with ECW. Huge. But yeah, 95 was that year, all three running, 95 ECW, WWF, WCW. And I got to be honest, WCW, I feel like, was the strongest of the three in 95. WWF had some great ideas. They had some, again, newer concepts like In Your House, more pay-per-views. But the matches and the cards at 95, a lot of them were just dumpster fires. Like King of the Ring 95 was one of the worst pay-per-views I've seen. I don't know how the hell they, Mabel wins the King of the Ring and nothing. His career just plummets after. We're talking King of the Ring now, 95. Winning the King of the Ring, you're supposed to not only get your shot at SummerSlam, but your career is supposed to move in the right direction. You're supposed to get that push. 95, completely gone. WWF was flat in 95, man. They were the worst of the three. I think it was WCW followed by ECW and then WWF. Although there were some really good moments and matches in 95 that stick out, like the ladder match at
Brett against Hakushi, banger.
Brett Hakushi was again different people. That's something you would see in Japan, in New Japan wrestling. But when we seen that, and we seen again 1 2 3 Kid, he was very athletic, so another underrated talent in the ring. Michaels and Ramon, that ladder match stuck out in 95 SummerSlam.
What about Michaels against Jeff Jarrett, the month before? Come on.
Yeah, Bobby, what's going on, Bobby?
We got Bobby in the house, and it's Bobby's World. Most memorable match in the 90s when I Mike Sharp defeated SD Joseph.
Jesus.
Jobbers.
Yeah, unbelievable match. I'll tell you, the crowd went wild, Bob. But no, 95.
Bobby, what's up, bro?
I appreciate you jumping on too, Bob. Yeah, dude, I was just saying, Swift 95. I think the best of the three of the organizations was WCW, and they had these. Bash at the Beach 95 was on the beach. We were just talking about the one the Shore coming to Jersey Shore next month, July 15th. They were on the beach. Slim Jim sponsored the whole thing, and they had a damn good card. I mean, from opening, Sting and Mang open up. I mean, we had Savage. It was again the lifeguard match. Savage and Flair. The Baywatch crew was there. The Cage. They were also filming for Baywatch during this for the TV series. It was the Cage with Vader and Hogan, but it was unique. It was outside. It was different, and we had a lot of that with WCW. WCW started picking things up especially Nitro. Okay, coming off of SummerSlam, and then the big switcheroo. Okay, another talent that jumped to WCW once again, where he was originally, Lex Luger. Lex Luger goes from just coming off of SummerSlam. Now, wait a minute, this guy's on Nitro in the Mall of America, and that was a big deal. The first Nitro, Luger's now. Now the people are thinking, what's going on here? Now Luger's a part of the show. I think Sting and Flair faced each other on the first Nitro, and then it was Hogan and somebody else. I forgot who. Was it Big Bubba Trail? It might have been
Big Bubba Rogers.
Bubba Rogers, no trail. Yeah, Bubba Rogers. But they were in the mall. That was unique. And again, another unique concept in the fucking Mall of America. And this is, again, WWF, there's really not much more to talk about the end of this year for them. We get into now, we're moving along here. Fast forward, 96. Again, so many things to touch on. In 96, we could break down these pay-per-views, but I want to really get into the next transition right here, which started everything up. So, as everybody already knows what was going on with Diesel and the contracts with Razor and coming into 1996, which I think was a damn good year for both organizations, WWF, WCW. But Michaels had the company on his shoulders. That's why he was under so much pressure in 96. We did get to see debuts for WWF that really picked things up. Other storylines, Undertaker, Mankind making his debut, okay, right after WrestleMania 12 on Raw.
So we're missing something. Michaels won the Royal Rumble for the second year in a row.
Thank you. Yes, he won 2 years.
Big Van Vader. Now, Big Van Vader showed up at the Royal Rumble 96 in WWF.
Yeah.
So we missed those two things. Yeah.
Key factors to this this build up to this war. So the war already started, but it was little digs here, little digs there. And for a wrestling fan, now, ever since Hogan made the transition in 94, we're starting to pay attention to this other company. We're starting to pay attention to WCW. And now we see this back and forth thing going on. Really more people just going to WCW, and who it was May 27th, I want to call it, 96. Who do we see on the screen? Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. After a couple days prior was the curtain call incident, MSG, that infamous curtain call everybody's talking about, breaking the kayfabe. Here's Scott Hall on WCW programming. Now they have this whole storyline. You want a war? We got it. Now people are thinking, fans are thinking, oh shit, WWF, they were going to war to WCW. It's not even the case. This is not the case. This was huge right here, man. And I know we could talk about so many things prior to this Bash at the Beach 96, but the Iron Man match, that match really stood out at WrestleMania. Bret Michaels, tremendous Michaels, the boyhood dream coming true, has the company on his shoulders. We're getting into this real time where shit is picking up. Monday Night Wars, because it's back and forth. WCW, I think, was the first to go 2 hours on the wars, while WWF was still at 1 hour. And this whole storyline changed wrestling forever. Like, it's not just like people saying, oh, yeah, they changed the game. They legitimately changed it, because we've never seen Hulk Hogan a bad guy. I don't know how many times people talk about this. It's a fucking big deal. It's a big deal when you look at the impact it's made, because what it did was it became a war inside the company, where originally people thought it was a war with two companies. It's all WCW. And this is Hogan turning heel. All these years, bruh. All these years, the prayers, the vitamins. And for what? For this reception, you can stick it, brother. It's he turned, telling everybody to stick it. People were crying. Hulkamaniac said, I was distraught. I was crying over it, but I was like, how can he do this? But it got me hooked. It got me hooked to the point where I'm watching WCW now. And they had the Orlando Nitros where they were outside, which was fucking, I love those.
Spring break. The spring break. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Spring break nitros. And, you know, we got what's next. NWO was formed. What do you do after this? Well, you got to give Hogan the belt. Hogan's world champion. Hog Wild. NWO's taking over. WWF, Michaels is struggling, you know, to hold this company and to have eyes on their product. They are taking a fucking beat.
Yeah, they were. But let me tell you, he had one hell of a run as champion. He had one hell of a championship run. But they were missing something. Like you go back to what you were just saying. The Hog Wild. WCW was taking risks and they were doing unique things that never been done. That was at the bike rally, the biggest bike rally in the country. That Hog Wild took place in Sturgis. You know, they were doing different things that had never been done before. You know, everybody, oh, it's wrestling. You know, everything's been done in wrestling. That hasn't. And they were looking at everything that they could do different. And everywhere, excuse me, everywhere WWE looked, they were getting hit with something different that they never done before. And WCW was doing it.
They were innovators, and they were coming up with, you know, quality storylines and quality pay-per-views and matches and different concepts, like you were talking about, even starting from like being on the beach in 95 and the 96, all these different kinds of matches. I remember there was a fucking match at Uncensored. They were on a moving truck, dude. I think it was Dustin.
The bunkhouse
bro, on a high. What the hell? Like, but I mean, that was 95, I think, still. But again, they're getting
early 95.
Yeah, Hog Wild. They're doing this outside Sturgis, big rally, and then they had these nitros outside in Disney. You know, they were picking it up. And it was a war. The war was on, and it was NWO. It was this whole thing with Hogan and like, oh my God, he's a bad guy. Now they're getting new people. Now they're invading WCW. So everybody was invested in this. Now back on the WWF side, like you said, Michaels had a crazy run. Michaels was killing it, man. I mean, he had some of his greatest matches, especially that Mind Games 96 in Your House match with Mankind was fucking off the charts, man. Like, as much as I enjoyed him and Brett and, you know, him and Vader was a little lackluster at SummerSlam, but still, that every other match that Michaels was involved in 96, that was the one that stood out to me because Foley can work. Foley can work his ass off, man. And so could Michaels. And that's why they put on that kind of a match, that clinic that they fucking ran. And then, you know, the next month after that, WWE's getting more creative. Buried Alive. You know, Taker was starting to help out, picking up that slack for WWF. You know, we had him and Mankind, that big feud in 96, the Boiler Room Brawl, and then the fucking Buried Alive match. And, you know, we're getting back and forth television here. This is like this for wrestling fans. This was the best thing ever, you know, and seeing coming off of what we came off of from early 90s. Look at where we evolved from early 90s, 1990, all the way now to 96, how much the business has changed. And it's because of the times. It's because of the way of the world. Like Vince was saying that time, we don't want to insult your intelligence. We had all these fucking gimmicks, right? It's a whole other conversation. The TL Hoppers, right? The Duke the Dumpster Drosies, the fucking Aldo Montoya, Man of War, Portuguese Man of War. What the fuck? What am I watching here? Mantar. You know, these crazy gimmicks. You know, and
we kind of missed a very important thing in 1996.
What was that?
And that's King of the Ring.
Oh, Swift, thank you, man. Because you know we're moving along in the 90s. Yeah, I know we're trying. I think we spent the early 90s. We were supposed to. This is where the bulk of it is at right here. Yeah, King of the Ring 96. Jesus Christ, Stone Cold Steve Austin, man.
Austin 316, baby.
Now, you know, we, again, not to continue like talking about but like, you know, coming off of ECW and what happened to him in WCW, and Austin's bitter, and Heyman gave him the floor, gave him an opportunity, gave him an outlet to speak his mind with some of those promos he did there. He had some crazy good matches in WCW with Stunning Steve. And now it's nothing. And he comes into WWF as the fucking ringmaster. And like, what? You know, and finally we get Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin. And after this King of the Ring promo, and he's talked about it, we don't got to get into it, how it happened, but the signs started appearing on Raw. Austin 316 started running with it. Austin began heating up in 96. So while you did have the NWO in Hall and Nash and fucking X-Pac or the 6 over there, the 1, 2, 3 Kid transferred over to the 6, and Hogan, they're doing their thing. Guess what? WWF is holding their own because Michaels, because of Undertaker storyline with Mankind, because of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart, 96 Austin. Man, that was huge. That feud with Austin and Bret, which we're fast forward now, and there's so many moments, dude. Really, I know, because we're at an hour 40 right now. We're going to try to wrap it up within the next 15, 20 minutes. So I get excited talking about this because living during this time period, people don't understand. If you didn't grow up during this time and watch it like we watched it, you wouldn't understand how important this was and how much fun and entertaining this was to be a wrestling fan during the 90s. You will never get it. We'll never get this shit again, okay, like this, because the stars are aligned. We had so many things going for us, so many superstars. The competition breeds excellence, and that's what we got here during these Monday Night Wars, during this WCW WWF showdown. 97. Touch on that a little bit. Go ahead, Swift. I know you're talking.
Well, I want to talk right before 97. Right before 97. I know we're trying to get out of 96. I want to talk about this real quick. Like you said, the NWO had WWF on the ropes. You had Austin. He was heating up. Everybody was looking at Austin. Taker was doing his thing. Michaels did the best he could. He could have did a lot better because they said personally he was he wasn't the best guy to work with. But in their desperation, we have Austin breaking into Pillman's house or invading the home invasion. Pillman pulling out the 9mm. Like now, WWE is starting to take chances. They're starting to listen. These guys, they're getting edgier. They're doing things that we've never seen in wrestling before. They're like, yo, we got to do something. We got to swing back. These guys are just pummeling us. We got to do something. We got to swing back. Yeah. And they were getting more creative. They were trying to do things different. They were. And here comes 1997. What's my first memory of 97? Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble 97. Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's all I got to say. Stone Cold Steve Austin, he already showed in King of the Ring that he was that dude. Royal Rumble 97, he's like, listen, I'm really that dude. He has his moment in the Royal Rumble and iconic moments, pieces of his career that are in his highlight reel are in that from that Royal Rumble, the things he did. He winds up winning the Rumble. He wins it. Now he's getting a shot. WrestleMania. You had a little this is also when Bret Hart started becoming like, people started calling him a crybaby.
Yeah.
all these things are happening at the same time. It kind of reminds me of what we were talking about earlier, where different storylines are festering and playing out, the puzzle pieces starting to get in place. Everything's happening at the same time. Bret, people are starting to not like Bret too much. They're like, yo, he's whining, he's complaining, yeah, you got cheated, so what? This was actually the first time I started not liking people because I'm like, yo, you see somebody's cheating and you're celebrating the guy. I loved Austin, but it's still to this day, this is one of the things I don't like with fandom right now. Like in boxing, I'm a boxing guy.
Yeah.
There's guys popping dirty with steroids and getting the win overturned in court. And the fans are saying, oh, why are you taking him to court? That's, you're a bitch. Why are you taking him to court? Get it back in blood. This is a business. Yeah, he beat you. It doesn't matter. He was on steroids. Like, this is what, this whole mentality, I hate it. It's about competition. It's about being fair. But the people started not liking Brett because he was pointing out the things that weren't fair, that were happening. Nobody wants to hear a crybaby, and people were looking at him like he was a crybaby, even though he was 100% right. He's like, yo, I keep getting screwed, which Vince later used. Brett screwed Brett. He used that later on.
Yeah.
He used that later on. He said, "Oh, I'm gonna use his own words against him. I'm getting screwed. At the time, Austin's just everything's going right for Austin. He's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and then enter Mike Tyson. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Dude, 90s, to sum up 97, the couple of little things I want to throw into 97. Austin on fire, him and The Rock storyline, picking up for the Intercontinental Championship, him and Brett, the infamous match at Mania, where it just double fucking turn here with the I-Quit match where blood out, passed out, everybody talking about it, and it's rightfully so. Oh, dude. Great, one of the greatest matches I think I've ever watched. Storyline was chef's kiss, Austin and Brett, man, and of course because they were workers and they killed it, they destroyed it, and that was a damn good Mania too, WrestleMania 13, and now we start seeing, bro, 97. I'm gonna say this, 97, and I gotta be easy with the bros because I'm starting to sound like Vince Russo, and Vince Russo was another, that's a whole other story. Ironically, just for anybody watching this right now, I had emailed Vince Russo prior to this show. He's done something for me for a watch party that we had at Hooters. And unfortunately, he was working tonight. He wasn't able to make it. But we are going to plan something to get Vince in a conversation on one of these shows for sure. Probably not the Jimmy J show, or probably like when I start the other piece of content when wrestling was real. This is almost like a prelude to that. But that would have been incredible if Vince would have been able to come on to this show. Just to let everybody know, that was going to be one of the spoilers. The other one was potentially going to be Mark Henry. It's just last minute decisions that had to be made. And I emailed them last minute, so really wasn't in the cards. But I'm thinking about it now because we're getting into that attitude era. And this was the pre-attitude. It was attitude era in my book before they announced it to be the attitude era.
It really was.
Yeah. But WWF was always a step behind until 98. So
yeah, I messed up.
And while WCW was still killing them in the ratings on Monday night, for me, after this Austin Brett match at Mania, this was like even more flipping. I didn't know what to watch. I did not know what to watch, man. It was just 97. I was driving myself nuts the entire 97. 96, it was more WCW than WWF. 97, it was equal. Because WWF started picking up.
Yeah, they were picking up, and on the WCW side, you had Sting in the rafters and coming down. So you had reasons. Every commercial break, you're switching back and forth. They really gave you a lot to sink your teeth into, both companies. But WWE really started hitting their stride. They really started hitting their stride. Austin was eating up. He was just so popular. Brett at the same time, he was the guy that was hot, and now people are starting to not like him. All of these things are happening at the same time. People are starting to not like him, and lines are starting to be drawn.
The Canadian Revolution, pretty much.
100%.
Canadian going on over there.
Alliances are being formed. Everything's happening at the same time, and it was organic. It was good. It was awesome storytelling.
And you notice the stages, everything started getting different. So with WWF, again, programming the Raw theme and stuff, that was changing. We had different staging for Monday Night Raws. Like they switched designs up. We were getting more custom-made sets for pay-per-views. In your houses, even later on, In Your House, I think was still 97 was still the house.
It was still in the house.
Yeah, it was still the house until 98 when I think the No Way Out in 98 was when they started changing it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that one. I got to double check, but that's when it started.
But let me tell you something that WWF started doing. We were talking about all of the different locations that WCW was going to. WWF started their Shotgun Saturday Night program. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, that's a
In
good
early 97. And they were at all of the hot spots in the city, in New York City, every Saturday night, live on television, 11:30 at night. They were at all of the clubs. They were at all of the night spots that, back then, you remember, Jimmy, back then, the club scene in New York City was crazy.
probably at its peak. Yeah.
Yeah. Between that and the late 70s, early 80s, like the club scene was everything. Everything, every club had a different deed. You had clubs with 5 different rooms. You have the hip hop room, the Spanish music room,
different floors, different rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, different floors, all different DJs. I remember the radio stations here. They used to broadcast live from the club. The DJ was playing live from the club. It would be on the radio. It was an amazing time. But WWF, I should say, had the Shotgun Saturday Night. They were every Saturday. They were live, 11:30 p.m. or 11 p.m. I don't remember which one it was. And they were at a different night spot, and it worked 2 ways because it's also a commercial for that place. Like you're seeing the wrestling going on here, and you're seeing what the place is. Oh shit, Webster Hall. That's when everybody started. Webster Hall was real big back then.
I just think the Undertaker is walking to Webster Hall like somebody's gonna rest in peace.
yeah, 100%. Webster Hall, All-Star Cafe, I think they were at Grand Central Station one week. Like they were at all of the spots. They were at what Cheetahs, I think. I think they were at Cheetah. But it was interesting. They were trying their best to be different. Listen, we got to start doing different things. These guys are everywhere. They're all over the place. We got to do it too. And being that it was a late night program and it was live, the Mirage, yes, the Mirage. Yep, 100%. Thanks, Ma. And they were trying, and it was edgier programming as well, because it was late night. It was late night primetime live, so it was edgier programming. I remember that was the first time I heard Terry Funk. He called Jim Ross an asshole. Now, that was sick. I'm like, oh, he said he didn't call him a jackass. He called him an asshole.
They started dropping some cuss words on the show, like ass and bitch, and then DX. We even talk about Generation X.
Yeah.
And this is like, 97. This was that year, man. I think, and I'm going to go on the record and say it. 97 out of the 90s, from 90 to 99, 97 was, it's got to be overall the best year for wrestling in the 90s.
You had everything in that year.
Yes, everything in that year. Different transformation, different things going on, with the DX, with the edgier programming. Now, because now WWF is right near WCW. Now, okay, we see how you're playing. We're gonna match it, and we're gonna do better than that. And I'm glad you brought up that Shotgun Saturday Night. That was something, man. That was the thing. And even like superstars and stuff that they had back then in 97 on WWE programming. Now WCW is like, well, what else can we add? What else can we do? I mean, their biggest thing was this NWO storyline they were running with since July of 96. And now Sting is supposed to be the savior. This was the first nail in their coffin. You build this up all these months to Starrcade 97, the end is in December 97. Sting, Hogan. And it doesn't work for him, brother. This is what happens. Hogan plays the card, the creative control card, goes over ultimately in the match. Doesn't drop the belt in the match. For what? Again, you're building up this storyline this long for Sting to lose, not win the belt. Now where do you go from here? That was a massive hit. And right off of that hit, well, guess what WWF did? Okay, well, Austin's hotter than ever. This guy's getting people behind. He's a badass. He's coming in. He wins the Rumble, second consecutive year. The third guy to do it. It was Hogan, Michaels, Austin. Austin, boom. Next night on Raw, Tyson. Austin and Tyson. I will never forget this image right here. Austin and Tyson, bro.
Yeah, nobody will forget that.
Look at Vince's face. Look at his face. You go to hell, you son of a bitch. You go to hell. That's all I'm hearing right now. Vince is nuts. We know this. We've seen him on television. So the things that have come out, I'm not going to get into that, but like, doesn't sound too far-fetched for the guy's mind. I mean, the guy is, come on. You see what he put together here. This is where WWF started taking control. Right when Austin and Tyson thing, this was like the prelude to that. And then WrestleMania, he gets the belt. You start seeing it build. I want to say, Swift, the Austin McMahon match on Raw that was built up. That's when McMahon started becoming this ultra heel. That's when people was like, what the fuck is going on here? This is the owner of a Fortune 500 company in the ring, taking bumps, taking stunners. You see how Vince takes a stunner, by the way? Like,
unfortunately, yes.
He's stiffer than ever. It's like rigor mortis setting in.
Yeah. But it worked because it worked. Vince being villainized worked because he screwed Brett.
Well, but not only that, the whole concept of I'm not listening to my boss. How many people go to work and get shit on by their boss back there, especially during that time? How many people just had to eat shit sandwiches from their boss? And here's Steve Austin. Yeah, fuck you, Vince. I'm not doing what you want. Anti-authority. Austin's kicking ass. I mean, how many weeks? And every Monday night, I had to tune in to see what was Austin going to do. We get King of the Ring, right? We get this big fucking massive match with Undertaker and Mankind where he's off the cell. Huge. This was another game changer right here, man. This moment that, when Foley got thrown not only off, but through the cell. And now WWF is on fire. And now WCW, what are we doing? We're bringing in that. Now they're still trying to hang on. They're like, you know what? We're going to bring in the Worm again, Dennis Rodman, and we got the Mailman, Karl Malone. Second year, back-to-back years during the NBA Finals, and here they are in the ring. They're setting it up. Now, granted, this is also a time where basketball was at its best.
Oh, yeah.
So this was smart booking on WCW's part. So they're keeping up. They're trying to keep up. Now they're starting to lose in the ratings, but they're trying to keep up. And for fans, Swift, man, you remember this, 98. My personal favorite year of the 90s, 98, because the whole thing with Austin. And every week, go ahead.
I don't think that's the truth. I think it's your favorite year because of one Mr. Bill Goldberg. I think that's why it's your favorite year.
No, Gilbert. Maybe the gimmicks. No, screw Goldberg. And I'm glad you brought this guy up, Swift. This guy was 700 and up. Nobody's that hot. Not even NJ Slot guy on the slots. There's no way. Okay? This is, I didn't get behind it. He's squashing guys left and right. Great concept, right? Great build. And great that you have somebody fresh because I'm tired of seeing Hogan and Savage and Warrior and fucking all these other old guys, Piper and Ric Flair. I love them all, but come on. We need something different. The only fresh face I had there was Diamond Dallas Page. I love DDP, man. So underrated. Before he became bigger, like right now, I still love the man because what he does for everybody, how he helps everybody. But back then, I even loved him when he had the cigar and the diamonds. DDP was the man. But Goldberg comes in, original talent, and they're finally doing something right. Most people think. I don't know. For me, whatever. I didn't get behind it. He wins the title. Beats Hogan. Okay, this is great. That's big for WCW. But I think no matter who you have in there, the knockoff Stone Cold and Bill Goldberg doing it your own way, you didn't have Steve Austin. You didn't. If you look at the roster of WWF in 1998, it was not the greatest roster. You had Steve Austin, you had The Rock, the two juggernauts, right? Then you had also Triple H, you had Mankind, you had The Undertaker. you had maybe what 6 to 8 top tier guys. Everybody else was, you know, you had some funny gimmicks, more edgier gimmicks. Val Venus, like the modern day Rick Rude, coming out there. You know, the Nation and Owen Hart, Ken Shamrock, and all these other people. Good roster, but not the best roster. But yet WCW or WWF, I'll Swift jump back on it. Yeah, there you go. That's all good. WWF was rocking, Swift. And I got to say, it was this night. I'm going to show you right now. Well, it started with SummerSlam 98, which was a fucking incredible card. Top to bottom in Madison Square Garden. Dumpster match, ladder match with Triple H, The Rock, and then, you know, ended up in Steve Austin and Taker.
Highway to Hell.
Yeah, Highway to Hell. But it was after that shit started getting real on Monday Night Raw, man. Zamboni Mania, okay? This incident right here, this night was so historic. I think, was it Vince that broke a leg or something this night? Something happened with Taker. Really fucking Vince up and put him in the wheelchair. And, you know, it was a wild night, but this was a series of nights where this happened, and then Austin with the bedpan incident. McMahon was the following week, was fucking Dr. Austin. That was over the top funny. Then we had Austin with the damn cement truck at one point. We had Austin with the Bang 316. You know, when he peed his pants. This whole September to end of the year, Austin, or not even September to Mania 15, WrestleMania 15 with him and The Rock, was that for me had me really like stop watching WCW because I was getting tired of NWO. I've been tired. I didn't like Goldberg. I'm like, WWF is killing it, bro.
Well, the thing is, like you said, once they messed up in 2007, the Starcade was Sting.
97, yeah.
You just started seeing they would like, okay, they're very weak in certain areas. Some things they're doing good, but they're very weak in certain areas. Like once they dropped the ball with Bret the Hitman Hart, which that should have been the biggest, that should have been their acquisition of Bret the Hitman Hart coming off the heels of that Montreal screw job. Should have been their biggest acquisition. Like that's the biggest storyline going. It was a shoot. He got screwed. It was a fix. He got screwed, and they could not capitalize on that. As a matter of fact, it's like they couldn't have been deader on it. You know, coming off the heels of that, they could have been deader with Bret the Hitman Hart. And you started seeing different things that were in place. Like, yo, they messed up with this, they messed up with that. So certain things they did good. You know, like you said, NWO was cooling off. It wasn't really that. You know,
you had there's two different NWOs now, and
that was interesting for a little bit. For like 3 weeks, that was interesting. Then it's like, you know,
a cup of coffee. That was it, man. And before you knew it, here we go in 99, and I was all WWF at this point. And, you know, Rock Austin, that build, Austin winning the belt back, rocking out. And 99 was it was just a crazy year overall, because this is where we lost Owen in 99, tragically, and over the edge. That put like that. Everybody was deflated at that point. Everybody, even WC, like it's a wrestling. Somebody loses somebody like that in the business. It's a loss to the entire business. Everybody that loves pro wrestling and is in the sport. So you know that was deflating. And how do you pick up from that? You know, with that going on, and WWF, you know, there was some lackluster kind of pay-per-views. The hardcore title was introduced at the end of 98, so we started seeing more of those matches. WCW tried to follow that 99 with them. But I think it just got to the point, in my opinion, where by the end of the era, by the end of the decade in 1999, WWE was just so far ahead. Like they were lacking, and they seen the formula, and they mimicked that formula and then amplified it, and they kept amplifying it, and they didn't stop. And WCW did not know what to do. They were trying. They tried. 99, they tried different things in 99.
They were drowning.
They were drowning, yes, between everything with Bischoff and then Vince, people say Vince Russo and David Arquette. I mean, that was a bad call, man. I mean, I loved Ready to Rumble in 2000. I loved it. But having him win the world title in real life really was a big FU to pro wrestlers in the business, man. I think that was the nail, was the Arquette thing, as many people say. Because again, I also get the desperation. I get like, damn, we're getting our ass handed to us. WWF in 2000, and I know we're pretty much going to wrap it up in a minute here, but 2000, Swift, you remember that. They were unfucking stoppable. 2000 Rumble, the Street Fight, the Mania, at every pay-per-view, they were knocking it out of the park. They were fucking having special set designs. They were matches, the storylines, the TLC introduction at SummerSlam.
Firing on all cylinders.
And WCW didn't know what to do. Russo was doing the booking. We seen, I think, well, actually, the final nail was Bash at the Beach, 2000, where shit got real. Jarrett laid in the ring. Hogan pinned him. It was probably Hogan with the creative thing, and Vince Russo, just gave him the belt, walked off. It was a very real moment where that was the last time we see Hogan on WCW programming, and he called Russo out. It was a whole big swap that day. But I also think if that was done earlier, like a year prior, I think they could have had something there. They could have had something because they were just starting to get. Go ahead, Swift. What were you saying?
No, go ahead, continue, because I'm gonna say something to that. So
okay,
continue.
Okay.
If it would have happened a year earlier, yeah,
a year prior, I think we would have had something special, because you started seeing them. All right, well, we got these other guys, Big Papa Pump, we have Booker T, we got some of the homegrown guys coming up again, DDP, some new faces. We started getting new faces finally on the scene. If it would have happened a year prior, but it was just too late. In my opinion, it was just too damn late. What were we gonna say?
Let me say this.
Yeah.
Why would you get the idea to do that a year earlier when you already have the secret weapon? A year earlier, Jay Leno. The secret weapon, Jay Leno. Why would you do it a year earlier when you got Jay Leno on the case? The hottest evening talk show host. The hottest talk show host at what did they call that time slot? I forgot. Late night. Hottest late night talk show host. Yeah. Secret weapon. Why would you do any of this a year earlier when you got Jay Leno and his pythons?
They had it in Jay Leno in 98. And
goodness gracious. I thought it was later than that. I thought it was 99. Because at the time, I got to be honest, this is the time I stopped watching WCW. I'm like, yo, what am I watching this for? It got more insulting every week, So I'm like, why am I watching this? I just didn't like it.
Then there was this big cage match. They had the with Russo involved in the match, and I mean, dude, it was just bad. It was bad booking, but it was also desperation. So part of me understands what they were trying. They had to try something, throw things at the wall, see what sticks, see what's going to work for us. So I really can't fully. I'm not going to be like one of these guys and just bury Russo. Listen, I never booked it. I never booked a live WWE or wrestling program in general.
It's a tremendous amount of pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure for sure. But hey, Mike, Reddit Rumble's better than anything they actually. Yes, it was. Jimmy King is like, you better let go, or I will rule you. Fucking,
I never saw that movie.
You never seen that movie? Come on, man. I love that movie, man.
That's how turned off I was. Yeah, Mike Walton. Come on, he's a guy. He could do anything. He's a big dude, but he could do everything the small guys can do. He knew how to work. He knew everything. He knew, man. He was money. You could put him in a ring in any country, in any continent in the world at that time, and he was money.
That's very true. It's unreal. How
And
they
let me
didn't.
tell you, yeah, let me tell you the worst part about that. He was actually related to Hogan. So the fact that, and that just tells you the type of guy Hogan was. Even if you're related to him, it doesn't work for me, brother.
Doesn't
You
work for
can't
me.
look like the next guy, brother. You can't look
Yeah.
like the next guy.
What? But what? Like, come on, man. This selfishness is crazy, man. Yeah, that's what Mike said before. Okay, should have built the company around. Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
why not?
100%.
At that point, what do you have to lose? I mean, shit. Ready to Rumble though. I thought that could have saved them a little bit. You know, that was like it came out in 2000. I'm like, yo, they need something. And the movie was for wrestling fans. It's like one of our favorite movies of all time. I mean, you know, David Arquette coming off of the Scream franchise. Okay, he's hot right now. In there with Sean Conn. I mean, fucking Jimmy King, Oliver. I mean, come on, these guys. It was a great cast, and then WCW superstars they thrown into the mix there. I love that. Even when I met Arquette, it was a fun watch, Mike. When I met Arquette in the fucking room in Monster Mania, everybody was so silent. I woke everybody up because I went to him and said, "There's a lot of players coming over that dome of yours. Swear nuts." So I started fucking, he started dying, bro. When we were talking about it. And it was just so fun, dude. Cheesy, gimmicky, but fun. And for wrestling fans, we loved it. We ate it all up, man. Because this is real to us, man. It's real to us because we grew up on this as we started earlier in the show about the 90s and now ending here, 99, early 2000. Ultimately, I guess we have to say, because we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact of the final Nitro. Even though this is after 90, we have to kind of close this chapter here. Closing the chapter. Just look Vince's face. There's Shane, Panama City. It's a simulcast going on. Unreal. Seeing that, right? What'd you feel, Swift, when you seen that?
Well, I actually didn't see it live. I was on my way back to Brooklyn from seeing a girl. And I'm on the Van Wyck Expressway. I was coming from Queens. I was on the Van Wyck Expressway, and she called me up. She's like, "Yo, Swift, what's up?" She says, "Vince McMahon bought WCW," because everybody at that time was watching. Like, wrestling was so hot, even though it wasn't so creatively strong. Like WCW wasn't. She was watching WCW and saw Vince come on there talking about, or Shane or whoever it was. I was, like I said, I was on the road, but I remember she called me and told me that. She said, "Yo, Vince McMahon or Shane McMahon bought the WCW," something like that. And I was like, "Holy!" So I never actually saw that episode. I wasn't home.
Mike, look at Mike said, hold on. Oh, man. To their credit, they try to capitalize on the booking the show similar. David winning the title, the Triple Cage just wasn't the right move. Watching the live was surreal. And then he says, "Left my this guy trying to big dick the audience right now." Swift. Oh, man. Totally.
Mike.
Against Vince. That would have been it. Imagine that though, like actually still keeping WCW. I'm fucking still laughing at this guy, Mike. That was good. Keeping WCW the way it was and having Vince and Shane at each other like that. But didn't happen. Guys had guarantees in their contract. They weren't leaving. We had a whole other invasion angle going on that was starting up. For WWF, and we're not going to get into all that, but this is the end of it right here. WrestleMania 17. WrestleMania 17, bro. The chapter was closed. It was the first Mania right after the sale, a couple weeks after WWF purchased the library from WCW, and that was it. And this is, even though there was a couple more years after this that were really great for wrestling fans, I just feel this happening, WCW going out of business, changed it. Things weren't the same. WWF had a monopoly on it, and Vince at this point can do whatever he wants to do, and nothing else is going to change. Nothing's going to matter. So I think what had happened after this is they got lazy. They got complacent. They got comfortable because there was no competition. after a while.
100% creativity was stifled. Like you could see the difference. You could see the lack of effort that they were putting into the programming at that point. It was a blatant lack of effort
Yeah,
because you saw how it was a few months before that, and then you just see something completely different. The change of pace, the tempo was done. You know, all of the beats that they were hitting before didn't even exist anymore. You know,
I know.
you can really see the difference, and it's bad when you can see the difference that quick. You know, occasionally, you know, maybe if you do it, you know, little by little, the people won't really, you know, they won't really get it, but we could see it right away. We could see it right out the gate.
You know, Swift, it was, you know, a good
Yes,
concept. It was a
and
great
ECW, Tony. Yes,
ECW, everything. It just wasn't with the right people. That's it, you know. But ultimately, 90s, man, 90s overall. To sum it up, I know we went a little bit lengthy because you know you and I, once we get talking wrestling, dude, we could have
oh
like a
yeah,
fucking
forget about it.
telecast, like I said, telethon here. It was great chatting, man, with you about this and talking about moments from the 90s.
It really was. But let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a small part of it. It wasn't the right crop of guys
yeah,
that that came in. But if they would have leaned into the guys they did bring in, all of those guys had talent. You know, maybe
yeah.
if you booked to their strengths, you would have made them look like superstars. But Vince was, it's the mentality. Oh, I can't have these guys looking superior to my guys. Listen, they're all your guys now.
Yeah, they're all your
Yeah.
guys, exactly.
Build these guys up, make them look like killers. In the meantime, until the Turner contracts end, and then you work on getting NWO, Sting, Scott Stein, all of these guys. Like, make these guys look like killers. Listen, this is not true sports where you're at the mercy of how a guy's performing. This can be manipulated. This
Absolutely.
thing can be manipulated. Like,
Yeah.
work it out. What are you doing? Work it out. Like, you've been doing this for freaking years. We've seen you move mountains with midgets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you just forgot what you've been doing.
But
All
see,
of these
that's the
years.
problem, man. That's the problem, Swift. All of these years, like, come on. You know how to do this. You know what works. Why not? Why not? Like Mike just said, DDP, Booker T, Mike Awesome.
Come on,
They could have
look at that.
changed right there. Just those three guys. But this is what we
100%.
even noticed later on with NXT and Vince and the bad booking. This is what happened later on, but that's a whole other story for another day. But
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Oh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get into that. But I gotta say this, man. It was never a better time to be a wrestling fan. Every wrestling fan out there that lived through those times, that watched these three organizations, specifically what we talked about today was WWF and WCW, but also ECW, that actually was able to experience the Monday Night Wars, to flip through the channels back and forth. That was a thing. In the time, the way the world was, and it was society, and everything was more edgy. And we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have MySpace, or none of these other things that came out eventually. Social media, nothing. It was still old school. Okay, it was just like it was must-see TV. You had to be in front of your television to watch it. Other than that, you had to tape it with the fucking VHS tape. Like we had to set the VCR, boom, 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 done. But like.
VCR.
That didn't no, we had to be there. So there was that sense of urgency and the excitement of Monday night, shit, 8 o'clock, I gotta be in front of the TV. That was added to it, and it started when Nitro went on air, but it really got, as soon as Hogan turned heel in 96, that's when it really started picking up even more. And the whole 90s decade, so many transitions and the evolution of pro wrestling. It was eminent. It was something that needed to happen, because otherwise, if they didn't evolve, they would have faded into obscurity, and we would not be talking about wrestling like this. We may have not even seen pro wrestling on the level that anywhere on this level where it's at today, if it wasn't for the 90s decade. Changed everything.
Absolutely. 100%. Because I would have said that about the rock and wrestling era in the 80s, but we seen it fall off. All it took was a steroid scandal. and it fell apart, completely fell apart. And the 90s picked up the pieces, dusted itself off, you know, reintroduced themselves, and we got the hottest. Listen, I know they're doing record business now, but there was never a hotter time for wrestling in the 90s. They were everywhere.
Never. It's, again, to sum it up, the 90s and just the different transitions that we've experienced as wrestling fans showed us. I mean, well, I guess for me, it showed you the change of times in the world and, which direction we were moving, because it spoke on a lot of what we seen in the ring, especially during Attitude Era, spoke on what was going on in society and things becoming more edgier. People like, it was not all this hokey kind of these characters, man. We need to make it more believable, more real, like the everyday kind of person, just amplified a little bit. And we had these characters, and those characters became larger than the other characters that we had, back in the early 90s. And 90s were, true to your point, man, 93, we got that little transit, boom, the wars and the conclusion of it. That whole decade, I'm going to even say it, plus 2 years, plus, if you want to say 2000, 2001, that's where I kind of really ended with the war as soon as WCW went out of business. It was incredible, man. There's nothing like it. I'll never forget it. I know you won't. There's been times where we got a little taste of it after that. Never be the same. Never. So it's great that we can relive it. It's great that we can go back on Peacock and watch some of these pay-per-views, or if you have it on VHS or DVD, it's something, because it takes you back into time. And dude, on a side note, I kind of want to have maybe old school wrestling watch parties, maybe bringing in a talent from that pay-per-view, maybe having games and stuff from that, for that, something like that, man, something different to bring people back to a certain event or a certain time, man. Yeah, I just think it was something special. We'll never get it again. But that's my thoughts, and that's the 90s wrestling conversation here, dude. And we kind of summed that up. I mean, there's so much to get into, but we summed it up, dude. I appreciate it, Swift. Appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Mama Swift. I appreciate that. Man. Thank you, Tony, man. Tony always coming through. Tony missing back then on WCW. Back then, I would say back then. Well, I don't know, man. She's a little more edgier with WCW.
Yeah, she had more personality in WCW.
Yeah, she had more personality because she was just like savage. So you know, yeah, you stay over there looking at my. You got lust in your eyes. Yeah, I see it. Okay, great, man. That guy's intense. Savage was great. Another guy. But yeah, watch parties, Mama Swift. Like in-person watch parties, I'm thinking at venues with this, and just something fun, man. We got to think of that. We definitely got to think of that. But all in all, 90s wrestling. Appreciate everybody tuning in, staying with us this long. Again, Mike, Tony,
thank you guys. Thank you.
Mama Swift, as always. Bobby for chiming in here. NJ Slot guy chiming in here. Wrestling.
NJ Slot.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. Michael Fright, thank you. So
Mike W.
Next week, I don't have a guest for next week yet. There might be a guest. We might have another conversation, but I got the rest of July loaded with some guests. So we'll pop that up here as the weeks progress. But I appreciate everybody that tuned in here. Just subscribe. If you haven't done so already, like, share, subscribe, bang, hit that button. Check me out on Facebook. You see the links down there, all links below there. Instagram. What I plan on doing, guys, every Thursday night, obviously 7 p.m., we're doing a Jimmy J show. But also, you got to stay tuned because there's more content coming, more wrestling content. If you like this and you want to get in the conversation, I will be starting something different. It's only about wrestling. It's going to be called When Wrestling Was Real. And we are dissecting it. We're getting more in detail about specific topics, maybe best gimmicks, stuff like that. Best gimmicks, certain pay-per-views, stage design, all this kind of conversation that we all as wrestling fans love to talk about. And we will have that. It's going to be a thinking it's going to be a weekly show, maybe bi-weekly. Don't know yet, but I'll let everybody know once we get that going. And that's going to start next month. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you check Swift out. He's all over the place. Scared Swiftless on Instagram, also Swift718 Instagram. Swift's not only here, he's there. He's everywhere. He's our Horror 365 VP of Horror 365, doing his thing with us. Thank you, Swift, for all you do, man. All you do for everybody. You know, just a really great dude. People that know you the kind of person you are. You give them the shirt off your back, the food off your plate, bro, if they were hungry. So we appreciate you. I appreciate you. You guys rock. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. And we're going to see you next week. Stay tuned. I'll be making that announcement about the next week's guest. I got to get a good outro video. We got a little something for the intro, but don't have much for the outro. Just a little Jimmy J logo. Remember, guys, count your blessings, not your problems, and continue creating those moments and memories that last a lifetime. We're going to see you next Thursday night, 7 p.m.